across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. And listen to this. Migrant hotels are going to cost Britain £15 billion over 10 years. Now, I always prefer to call it 15,000 million, simply because people are not always clear on what £1 billion is. £15,000 million over the next 10 years, a spending watchdog has revealed. The National Audit Office, I don't like them, they're communists, so they're probably being dishonest, but not in a way that's supportive of us. I suspect it's even higher than that if the National Audit Office are saying it. The contracts were originally forecast to cost £4.5 billion over a decade, but now they're expected to run to £15.3 billion, simply because the number of people that have come over the channel has come up so large. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the riots that take place at these migrant accommodations, simply because they've been promised 4-star accommodation by the people smugglers, and when they do not get accommodation of that quality, they go absolutely crazy about it. And I think that's entirely understandable. You're going to think, well, that's weird, isn't it? Well, hang on a second. These people are being sold a package for £10,000, and that is that they will be shipped to the United Kingdom, they'll get over the channel, and they'll have a certain standard of accommodation. When they realise that their cousins are in 4- or 5-star hotels and they're staying on a disused army base, from their perspective, you can understand why they're so angry about it. And so not only does it cost us £15 billion, but we're now getting formal complaints from those people living in the accommodation that the quality of the accommodation is not as high as they were promised when they left Albania. Unbelievable. Asher, your view?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's immediately they're not going with the British culture, because you don't kick off if there's a problem with the hotel. You say, get the manager. I want to see the manager. So that's the first thing they need to learn. But yeah, it's 50 grand a year it's costing. I think it's going to end up costing more than 15 billion, because there's going to be more, and we can't take it. And we've heard about what's going on in the areas around these places where it is. It's not just it's in posh areas. We've got a friend who had one, although they've all gone from that part of London, haven't they?
Have they?
I think so, yeah. It was too posh for them. But they were in Pimlico, and Richard Tice went down and they were moaning about the Wi-Fi. I mean, they were in Pimlico. It's a nice place. It wasn't a Premier Inn, but it was all right. It was a bit.
Well, I went to a migrant hotel in Runcorn and Helsby, and it has to be said, what you will know as Northwesterners as the Lord Daresbury, it's called the Daresbury Park now. The reason is because Lord Daresbury no longer owns it. Presumably he didn't want to give it its name anymore. But look, the Lord Daresbury, or Daresbury Park, was a good 4-star hotel. If that was in a place in the sun, you would have gone on holiday there.
Oh, there was a 16th century medieval place in Telford, which, you know, Henry V had stayed. I don't know, loads of famous people. They got 4 poster beds in there waiting for them. And golf courses.
Yeah, and I looked through the window, and I mean, many of you will remember going to spa days at the Daresbury Park.
Oh yeah, always.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The swimming pool may have closed, but the gym certainly hadn't closed. It was an extraordinary thing. Anyway, let's talk to Chloe Dobbs, who's a political commentator. Chloe, £15 billion.
It's absolutely crazy. But don't worry, guys, because Keir Starmer has the solution, which is to move them all into private rented accommodation. The bill will be the same amount and everyone will be evicted. Local hard-working Brits will be evicted. But don't worry, they'll be able to tell us that they have closed the asylum hotels. They think that us British lot are fools who will accept that and see that the government has made progress, but we know it is no progress whatsoever.
But Keir Starmer has often willfully misunderstood the problem, hasn't he? So if you remember, they were saying, well, you know, we're very concerned about the number of people in migrant hotels. His solution is, well, let's move them out of the hotels into private accommodation. Do you remember when we were talking about the number of small boats crossing the channel? And he said, it'd be better if we flew them in. Yes. The point isn't the mechanism of transport, though that was dangerous. The problem is the sheer number of people coming over. His solution, obviously, well, look, what you're worried about is the danger of them travelling on boats. Let's get them on planes instead. That wasn't the solution, and it was a willful misunderstanding
That's how they
of
do
the
it.
point we were making.
I mean, it just shows how insanely out of touch the people running this country are. The people living in their Westminster bubble, they have absolutely no idea what the rest of the country thinks. And I've seen a few videos coming out, like TikToks and whatnot, of people who are saying, guys, today I've just got my eviction. I've been told by my landlord, you know, me who works every single day, you know, gets up at 5 a.m. to work every single day. I try and pay my rent every month, and I've paid it every month. I've now been told I'm being kicked out because they've been offered a deal, 5 years guaranteed rent. Why wouldn't you go for that?
And all the repairs and everything.
Yep. And you know, the bills and everything all guaranteed, all paid for. That they're going to go for that instead, to house migrants instead. How unfair is that for the people of this country who get up and work every single day, that they're being kicked out of their houses? Anyone who's trying to find somewhere to rent will know how difficult it is to find somewhere. You'll be in a line of 100.
And you have to get a deposit all.
100. Yeah, you need, especially in London, if you haven't got 6 months up front, absolutely no chance. You've got to have.
I mean, you're having to live under a photocopier at the moment.
Basically.
In an office.
I'm struggling to find it.
Look, I'm struggling to find a place at the moment. I'm homeless at the moment.
Yeah,
but that's because of your reputation.
But it is impossible at the moment. And what this is going to do is, I can understand the argument that spreading people out more thinly may mean that you haven't got the very concentrated effects of, say, 400 people dumped in one hotel in one little village. I understand that. But this is going to cause an absolute disaster as well, and make people, especially young people,
But is it like Herbert Morrison? But is it like Herbert Morrison, who said that he would build the Conservatives out of London by putting a council estate in every ward? I mean, is that what it is? So what you will say is there will now be no. So there are people, let's be honest, who do not love multicultural Britain, who want to live in a traditional British environment. Is what's happening now to ensure that that no longer exists? Because what you could do is you could go to every single a chocolate box village in the United Kingdom and ensure it now has an ethnic minority community.
I mean, I don't know if there is a, you know, deeper, more sinister
wouldn't surprise you though, would it?
Idea behind this, but that is the reality of what will happen, that you will have nowhere left in the country that genuinely feels British, and you will have nowhere in the country where mothers feel genuinely safe allowing their, you know, teenage girls to, you know, go out and play and meet their friends by themselves.
Someone in Ipswich was saying there's 3 places there and they can't go out.
I was very lucky to grow up in Cornwall, which actually at the time was so safe that my parents, I mean, even from basically the age I could walk, they could just open the door and say, off you go meet your friends, do what you want, and it was super safe. But now,
like Enid Blyton.
But now in Cornwall, and of course everywhere else in the country, they are starting to get these migrant hotels now, and there are stories of rapes happening and whatnot, and now parents don't have the freedom to let their kids go out and play, and, you know, with peace of mind that they're going to be safe anymore. And I think that it's a great shame. And I think, you know, Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, who holds up that refugees welcome sign, they just do not understand what the people want. And even if they do understand it, they haven't got the tenacity.
I think they should put up with it in the name of diversity. You know, how dare you be rude about sexual assault? You've got to accept it as part of diversity.
Correct.
And the thing is, you know, we are getting stat after stat after stat, both of, you know, in countries in Europe, and now finally we are starting to get some stats, you know, with the link between crime and people from certain backgrounds in this country.
But we've seen it in other countries, which shows us what's
I mean, it's absolutely shocking. I mean, some came out from Italy recently, and it's just beyond belief the people who are coming across on boats, the most prominent countries they're coming from, those are the people who are by far way more likely to commit rape, sexual assault, or many other crimes than your typical Brit. It's not racist. Can
we just be very clear on that? The reason is not because people go on, in other countries they have less good women's rights, and that's true. But the actual effect is you're allowing the wrong uns of every country to come to Britain. Illegal migrants enter the country illegally. You're getting the dross of the world. That's the reason. Now, I do accept that women's rights in Pakistan are lower than in the United Kingdom, but the reason why we're getting the problems that we've got is because what we're letting into the country on these small boats are the people that these countries want rid of. I made a video on my YouTube channel about somebody who'd come back from Tunisia and said, oh, it's been brilliant, this uncontrolled immigration into Europe. We've got rid of all the radicals, all the losers, all the criminals. We've sent them all to Europe. And apparently Tunisia is night and day compared to what it used to be.
Well, maybe we should just go in opposite directions. Maybe we should all go move to Tunisia now, because it sounds like it's nicer there now.
And I'll tell you something else that's remarkable. I was only thinking this the other day. There are 3 different definitions of the same thing, aren't there? If you're black, you're an immigrant. If you're white going to the New World, you're a settler. Or if you're white going to a white country, you're an expat. But now, everybody, if you were to say, is it good to settle somebody else's country and bring your own cultural norms and abolish what was there in advance? Everyone would say, no, that's disgusting. How dare the Europeans do it in America? If you say, well, now Birmingham has been settled by Indians and Pakistanis, you'd say, well, no, it's been migration. Well, no, it's not. These are settlers. They're settler communities, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean...
It's the same simply because it's exactly the same thing.
I haven't spent much time in Birmingham, but I see, more and more people, especially with what's going on with the bin strikes and whatnot there, have been going and taking a look and taking videos. And you think, this does not look like Britain in the slightest. And I think what's really telling is the fact that one of the Birmingham MPs, Tahir Ali, is more interested in campaigning for an airport in Pakistan, because apparently that is the top priority for his constituents who visit Pakistan all the time. He's more interested in that than actually dealing with the bins and the bin bags everywhere piling up.
And he wants blasphemy laws as well.
Oh yeah, he wants blasphemy laws as well.
Well, we've done this before, and we can probably list the MPs who want the new airport. Do you know what? I'll
and most of them all said that there's absolutely no way we should have a 3rd runway at Heathrow because of the climate emergency. But apparently you can only cause global warming from Britain, and if you open an airport in Pakistan, it won't make any difference.
Right? Are we ready for the list? Now, this I'm sorry. Look. People are going to complain about this, but I'm just going to read you the list of MPs who want this new airport in Pakistan. British MPs: Mohammed Yassin, Zubair Ahmed, Tahir Ali, Rosina Ali Khan, Tan Desai, Adrian Hussein, Imran Hussein, Kubain Hussein, Afzal Khan, Absad Mohammed, Lord Mohammed of Tinsley, Yasmin Qureshi, Naz Shah, Baggy Shankar. Is that a real person?
That was a track by Madness. Baggy Shankar.
Zahar Sultana. There are other people like Andrew Pake, Stella Creasy and Debbie Abraham.
No Jeremy Corbyn.
But no.
He doesn't mind the 3-hour trip. He sits on the floor of a train.
But here is the remarkable thing. You like it or you don't like it, that is a list of Pakistani names. Those are people who've come to the British Parliament and said to themselves, my number one priority is Pakistan.
And did you hear the speech that was given by the Scottish Labour leader the other day?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
That was absolutely...
How they want to take over everything.
That was absolutely shocking. I mean, I can't remember exactly word for word what he said, but he essentially said, we need to have Pakistanis leading countries in the corridors
running
of power,
the schools
everywhere.
here and everything.
Yeah, and I have no problem with someone saying that, Pakistanis should be able to stand as MPs and councillors, and if they do a great job and
I'm sorry, I do.
But saying that they should be leading countries, essentially taking over from everywhere else, that's how it came across, and that's scary.
Hang on, we misunderstand the terminology here. Right. If you are somebody who's of Pakistani descent and you are in the United Kingdom and you are a patriotic Brit, go ahead, do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If what you are on about is, because inevitably, am I allowed to turn round and say, if they turn round and say, isn't it great that we've got an Asian Prime Minister, then legitimately I can say it's time we had a white guy. I mean, that's because...
Doesn't work 2 ways.
But if that's the way you're going to say, if you're going to say, I believe the corridors of power should be packed with Pakistanis, then I want to say, I believe it should be packed with white people. There's a difference between being reasonable and moderate to people and starting an ethnic conflict.
Some people get more freedom of speech than others.
I mean, there are so many people who are so entrenched in their left-wing ideology that they genuinely, truly believe that racism can only go one way. You've seen people go around college campuses and whatnot with a mic and ask people, is it possible to be racist towards white people? And most of them, they'll say, no, absolutely not. You know, the white people are the oppressors. You can't possibly be racist towards white people. It's just beyond belief.
But that's the judiciary as well. You look at the rape court cases, there was no racial aggravation, and obviously that was, but they ignored that because it's a two-tier, but on very serious crimes.
And if you hear of the nicknames that they called the
white
girls,
slags and things like this while they were raping and torturing them.
It was very, very
and that was
clear.
named in the court. The judge said that in the end, but yet it wasn't a racially aggravated court case.
And these people, they thought that they could do that to those girls. They wouldn't do it to the girls of their own heritage and their own faith, because they thought that girls who are white and not Muslim are morally inferior, and so that was allowed. And that to me seems like a racist crime. But you know, you take something like any of the things that these people say and just flip the colours around and you realise how racist it is. So if you take Hamza Yusuf's speech where he goes white, everyone white. If you change that and you went brown, everybody brown, right? Can you imagine
again,
the
freedom
outcry?
of speech is different, two-tier freedom of speech. Anyway, we've got to go to a break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, let's go to the phone lines. Tony is in Lancashire. Tony, you're on Talk.
Hi, good evening.
Aye.
Hello.
Hi. About these immigrants what are breaking the law. They're breaking the law by just breaking it by throwing the passports and they say, like, if I were to do that in Australia, they'd have me sent back before you know it. Anyway, another thing, like, they've travelled through about 20 countries, I don't get. And I thought they were supposed to claim asylum in the first country they come to.
No, what they do nowadays is they pick whichever country they think has the best welfare.
I think it's about time they just sent them back like Donald Trump.
Do you know what I think we should do, Tony? Two very simple things. Point number one, the war's over, it's time to go home. I think that's a wholly reasonable thing. In the First World War, there was a large Belgian community on the south coast. The reason you've never heard of them is because when the war was over, they went back to Belgium. The other point is, I'm sorry, but if you were not born in the United Kingdom, if you are convicted of any crime at all, you should return to your country of origin.
Plus, they should fight where they come from.
They should be sent back anyway. They're not even supposed to be here.
But they're young men. Imagine in the First World War if all the young men of this country just legged it.
And I just want to say thanks to Chloe Dobbs as well.
Why? What's Chloe done that's so good?
Well, she did that programme about these illegal immigrants breaking in.
Aye.
You know, that documentary, sorry.
Go back to where you came from.
Yes, go back to where
No,
you came
I'm not
from.
being rude. That's the name of the programme.
Thank you, Chloe. We're brilliant, Summer.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
She was bombed by the
I'm glad someone enjoyed it because all the trolls on Twitter just called me an evil racist.
Let me just ask you something. You've also had some problems with some trans activists this week.
Yes, on Twitter. Well, I was at the toilets in Waterloo Station. I was in the ladies' loos, and I saw another person in there who very clearly, I'm 95% certain, was a man in a frock.
You sure it wasn't a woman with a penis? Because Keir Starmer says there are very rare exceptions where you get
Maybe it was a woman with a penis.
Yeah, but hang on a second. What does it bother you if they go into a cubicle? No.
It bothers me that they are in a space where there's no CCTV, right? And also, you've got to bear in mind, so one of the problems that they've had, huge problems as the reports come out, in swimming pools, in leisure centres, where the official advice was to have mixed-sex changing rooms. They had cubicles, but the cubicles do not go from ceiling to floor, and they had huge problems with guys putting phones over and filming girls getting changed, huge numbers of that, and sexual assaults and whatnot.
That's highly illegal, isn't it?
Having cubicles does not solve the problem. We wouldn't have needed to have that Supreme Court ruling and all of that if having cubicles.
By the way,
solved
you've got to be very, very careful. I'll tell you, I was running late for work one day, and I'm so sorry that I was running late for work. There was a bloke, and what he was doing, he was taking photos of women very, very close up on his phone. And I looked at the bloke next to me on the tube, and I went, "Is he doing what I thought I was doing?" And I grabbed him and had a go at him. But then what he did was, you know how people have two operating systems on the phones? I don't know how you do it. So, like, he just went backwards and went, like, backwards. And he went, "No, look at my phone. Look, you can see that there's no photos in my gallery."
A professional.
So, like,
clearly a professional.
So he knew what he was doing.
He knows what he's doing, which suggests that he does this quite often.
Well, exactly.
Which is quite concerning.
So the
Don't
problem is,
underestimate how many creeps there are in this world.
But you've had a lot of pushback and a lot of hate, haven't you, since that?
I have. Well, I turned off the notifications on Twitter and just stopped looking at them because it was getting...
Well, you had 7 million views, so the amount of hate you'll get...
I know. I mean, and so many of them were like, how on earth could you assume that that is a man and not just a woman with broad shoulders? I'm like, I saw the guy right in front of me. It was clearly a man. I mean, there is as I said, I'm 95% certain. And
hang on, but what if you had been wrong?
Well, there's always a small chance I'm wrong, right? But I'm saying I'm 95% certain. This, to me, looked absolutely clear as day. A biological man.
Are you just lying? And basically, it was plainly a man. So, are you being polite? Was it just obviously a bloke?
It was obviously a bloke.
All right, okay. So just it's important because if you're being coy...
But I'm just saying, as my response to all of the people that are saying, "Oh, what did you do? Check his genitals and pull his dress up." No, of course I didn't do that. And you can never be 100% certain. But I'm like 99% certain.
I'm sorry.
Was clearly
no, I'm sorry. You can
He
be.
was protesting the Supreme Court.
You can be 100% certain. You can. No, I'm sorry. When you go, I mean, my name's Karen. I mean, I've said this before on the BBC. I know having a penis doesn't make me any less of a woman. Well, it does a bit. I mean, you must even you've got to concede it must be a bit.
I mean, I didn't speak to the guy. I nearly did, but I held back. I didn't cause a confrontation. I was tempted to go up to him and say, "Excuse me, were you born with a penis?" Because it looks like it. But I've refrained from causing a scene.
But you get death threats and things, obviously, don't you, normally?
Apparently I was getting loads of threats, according to my friend that was actually looking at the responses. But I stopped looking at them because they were just getting so ridiculous.
What kind? Can you be more specific?
Well, they all started saying, "Oh, this is against the law," and tagging the Met Police, saying, it's stalking and harassment. When I hadn't filmed anything in the loos, after I'd left the loos and saw that he was still wandering about Waterloo Station, I just took like 2-second video to be like, this bloke's just been in the women's changing rooms. Didn't even show his face.
What was he
or anything.
wearing?
A dress, a frock. It was when we had our lovely heat wave, and he was all ready.
Dress.
He was ready for the summer's day in his little heels and his flowery frock.
But honestly, look, we can make jokes all day, but people have been killed in this country for their political beliefs. Are you not worried?
I hope that I won't be killed in.
No, well, I mean, I'm being deadly serious because if somebody says if there are hundreds and hundreds of threats, I mean, I don't believe that most of these threats are real, but some of these people are mental.
Yeah, I think that the vast majority of people who send you threats on the internet are, probably someone in their mother's basement who's completely out of shape, cannot outrun me, cannot outpunch me, and the people who seriously want to plot to kill you, they're not going to tell you about it. They're not going to tell you on Twitter that they're coming.
No, but they are going to be alerted about it. I mean, I made this point earlier about James O'Brien. When James O'Brien falsely claimed that Nigel Farage was was behind all the riots after Southport.
He called them the Farage riots. I mean,
Yeah.
it was libelous, actually.
and-
All of the every Islamic fundamentalist organisation in the world then put Nigel Farage on a hit list.
Yeah.
If Nigel Farage is killed, the likelihood is it will be by somebody who was inspired by James O'Brien.
And actually, interestingly, it was shown by that investigation it wasn't a riot. And it was shown that this was a spontaneous protest. And Keir Starmer basically called it far-right. They said they weren't far-right people. I mean, he's got that wrong. He got the Supreme Court ruling all wrong. He's getting everything wrong. Shouldn't he just apologise? And I mean, he's really
Keir
affected.
Starmer
He should resign.
apologise.
Well, exactly.
Well, we can wish, but it's not going to happen.
Never gonna
But, you know, I mean, back to the point about people increasing the chances of people being killed for their political views. Let's not forget that Donald Trump had 2 assassination attempts during
Correct.
his campaign.
Well,
And yes,
apparently more than that. That was the ones we know about.
yeah, well, I'm sure there are far more people that plotted. But the reality is that people like James O'Brien and plenty of others in the media who call people like Nigel Farage, who call people like Donald Trump, and anyone who cares about immigration, as they call them some evil, racist, fascist, Hitler-like individual, you are going to lead individuals to think this
Well,
is
it's called
someone...
incitement, which is illegal, but when that side do it, nothing happens. That's far more incitement
But this
than
is
that woman who said, I don't, you know, it was terrible
Yeah.
what she said, but I think that's worse.
Well,
actually
I
accusing-
don't think they realise the danger that they are causing by the way that they speak about individuals.
But ignorance is no defence in
Yeah.
the law, yet nothing will happen to them.
They have no good argument. So what they do is, rather than making a good argument against Donald Trump's policies, against Nigel Farage's policies, they just resort to name calling. It's lazy, it's messy, and what it does is it villainises them to the point that people think this is someone who genuinely needs to die. You know, there are people, you know, all the politicians we don't like Keir Starmer and whatnot, we don't wish death upon him.
Of
We
course
still think
not.
he's a decent human being. But there are people...
I don't think he's a decent
but
human
there are
being. I don't
people,
want to kill
you know,
him.
Are we glad that evil people like Osama bin Laden were taken out? Of course we are, right? And when you have people in the media paint people like Nigel Farage,
Well,
like
Keir
Donald
Starmer
Trump
himself
as-
does it, calling people far right.
Yeah, exactly. Of course you're going to have people thinking, oh, this is someone who's genuinely such a danger to society that they need to be taken out. So it's no wonder
a
you
low
end up...
IQ person can
It's
just go
no
out and-
wonder you end up with these assassination attempts happening.
Yeah.
And if, you know, every time there is a sad death of a politician or an assassination attempt, it puts so many
Well,
people
I saw
off of that job, which reduces the talent in politics, right? If so many people
Which is
think...
bad enough anyway.
Yeah, nobody wants to live a life where you can't go out your front door without being terrified.
I saw an incident once, and it was on the BBC, and basically what had happened was Vladimir Putin was visiting Downing Street, and there was a bit of a protest. Right, and basically this bloke, the BBC said what had happened was this bloke had come up to them and gone, why is there a protest? And they went, because Vladimir Putin's invaded Chechnya. And the bloke went, what's Chechnya? And they went, oh, it's a Muslim republic in the Russian Federation, and some people think he's anti-Muslim as a result. The bloke immediately jumped on the bonnet of Vladimir Putin's car, shouted Allah Akbar, and tried to smash the window. Now, the bloke didn't know what Chechnya was until that started. There will be people who are like that.
Yeah.
Fact.
Well, I mean, I think that all the pro-Palestine marches that we have had since October 7th have shown how passionate people can get
About subjects they know nothing about.
They know nothing about. I mean, how many videos have we seen of people going up with a microphone to someone who's just been chanting from the river to the sea, and they say, "What river? What sea?
Yeah.
What does
And queers for Palestine.
what does the word genocide mean?" And they know absolutely
Oh, I'll tell you what I hate.
nothing. But they dedicate every Saturday to it. They're obsessed. It's just a cult.
I tell you what I hate more than anything else. You've misspelt the word anyway, cult. But what amazes me, or what I hate particularly, is this thing that's come up from the United Nations, where we lie about people and we make things up. Right. The Israeli army is not being accused of a genocide, right? They might be accused of failing to protect civilians sufficiently, which can be disputed, right? But they're not being accused of a genocide. When you go, well, it must be a genocide because I don't like them. No, it's not a genocide. A genocide is when they go house to house, killing everyone deliberately because they're Palestinian.
Like Hamas did.
That has not happened, right? And then, and so what? You know, you see it time and time again. You know, you are a fascist. Well, there is a technical term. You can say I'm wrong. You can say you hate me. You can say you you disagree with what I'm doing, but but fascist is a technical terminology. And now what we decide to do is, when we're annoyed with somebody, we just hurl whatever.
Call them Hitler, that's the one. They just keep throwing it out and eventually
Netanyahu is a fascist who's committing a genocide. Look, from a technical point of view, he has been accused of neither of those things. Neither of them.
I mean, the thing that really gets me is when people call Netanyahu and the Israelis, they call them Nazis, and it's like, hang on a second, the Nazis are the ones that kill Jews, and now you're saying that the Jews are the Nazis. I'm sorry, but where is the logic
But
here?
they do that for a reason, you know what I mean, to wind up. That's why they say, you know, it's apartheid, it's a concentration camp, they say, don't know, when it definitely wasn't, when you compare what Gaza was like. It had, you know, people went to shopping centres and everything. If they want to look at historical documentaries about Auschwitz, and they'll see the difference. I mean, it might be a bit like one now, but the prison guards are Hamas. I mean, there's never been a war where they make the innocent civilians stay on the battlefield.
I looked at this video, this website, which has been taken down now, which was Visit Gaza from the Gaza Tourist Office. Right now, bear in mind, this website was not terrible. Right, there was stuff to visit in Gaza.
Okay.
Right?
They've got the best beaches down there,
But
better than Tel Aviv.
one of them, Rafah, was it Rafah? I forget. Where they had the photo of the town had a rocket that Hamas had fired in the photo. like in the background, you could just see this missile.
Well, about 25% of their missiles land in Gaza. So
Yeah, and then they blame Israel for the deaths, and then the whole propaganda machine comes out.
72% of people killed in Gaza, I think it's come out yesterday, were fighting-age males. So that pretty much says a lot.
Yeah. If Israel is committing genocide, they're not doing a very good job of it, are they?
Well, they're not.
If they wanted to commit a genocide, they could have done it. They could have flattened the place in 5 minutes.
The problem is what you know. This and once again, I repeat the comment. What's frustrating is you're having a debate about something that nobody suggests they're doing. Then it isn't. They're not attempting a genocide. Now they might have killed civilians. They might be wrong. It could be that they shouldn't have invaded. It could be that that any one of their policies might have been wrong. But attempting a genocide is not what they were doing. Therefore, when you have this stupid, and it is the UN, call everyone a fascist, call everyone a racist, call everyone a Nazi, and say everything's a genocide.
And the irony is that's what they're doing. And the propaganda minister of the Nazis, Gould, said, you know, always accuse your enemy of what you're guilty of. Because everything, the genocide, all that, the concentration camp, that is all the Hamas doing that. So they're accusing Israel of doing exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to pretend to be some expert on wars and international relations, but it doesn't take 5 minutes to Google the civilian death counts, or just death counts in general, of other wars and compare them and realise this is definitely not a genocide. You know, if you look at the number of people that died in Syria, Yemen and various other places, it's astronomical compared to the number that's died in Gaza.
More people have been born in Gaza since October the 7th than have been killed, so it's actually a minus genocide.
Exactly. As I said, Israel's definitely not doing a very good job of genocide.
I mean, the other thing that amazes me when they say the transatlantic slave trade was a genocide. You're not killing people. What you are doing is kidnapping them and selling them into slavery. That is not a genocide.
They weren't even kidnapping them. They were buying them off the markets in Africa. It's a Nigerian tribes were capturing their own people.
But slavery and genocide are opposites.
I know.
In one of them you kill everyone, and in the other you're trying to keep them alive.
I know, but to say it's not a genocide, you get some idiot lefty who's only got one brain cell, thinks that you're now saying that slavery is morally right, which is not the case. And so if you say, oh, Israel's not committing genocide, they then think that you're like celebrating the death of everyone that's died in Gaza, which couldn't be further from the truth. Of course, we all think every human life is valuable.
We're going to go to a break in a minute, but I will say it's exactly the same as the most ludicrous debate ever. Was Nelson Mandela a terrorist? Right, so he was convicted of terrorist attacks, right, and committed acts of terrorism. Therefore, technically, he was a terrorist. And then you get into this: how dare you accuse him? He is a freedom fighter. You go, oh, I don't care.
He never raped anyone or beheaded kids. You know, there's terrorism and then there's terrorism, isn't there?
Indeed. Okay. 0344 499 1000. We'll be back in a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, let's go straight to Heather in Cavan. Heather, you're on Talk.
Well, it sounds like it's a runaway train it's happening here with all this going on. With people, the problem here is people have lost the common sense, the logic, and they haven't got a sense of morality.
We need to pull the emergency lever, don't we, on your metaphorical train?
And I know passion is high and all that. It sounds like it's a psychological war going on between people, different kind of people, whether you're on the right side of politics or whether you're on the dumb, nonsensical. This is nonsense. All this is nonsense, what's going on with these pro-Palestinian protesting. They haven't got a clue what's going on in the world.
Do you think, Heather, do you think that there will now begin, I mean, this process that we're starting to see in places like Birmingham, this process that we're starting to see in Bradford of ethnic voting, do you think that we'll end up in places like the Lebanon where, you know, there is a party for white people, there's a party for, say, Pakistani people, there's a Muslim party, there's a Christian party, whatever. I think that is the logical conclusion of a multicultural society.
Well, as we were talking about the last week's election, why is Reform is doing well? It's because people are listening to Reform. People are starting to understand what's going on in this country, and no wondering why all these polls are saying Reform is going to be the next government and Labour is going to lose a hell of a lot of seats.
And the Tories, I mean, because they're
Conservatives.
They back up each other, don't they? I mean, you see now Tory MPs backing up something Keir Starmer said. They really are a uniparty, and everyone's seeing through it now.
I've got a theory that I call Exodus, which I've given it my own name. Hang on a second, Heather. I've got a theory which I called Exodus. See what you think of this, and I don't know if you want to comment, Chloe, but my theory is that there comes a point, so the Conservative Party have behaved so badly, particularly Conservative campaign headquarters. They've abused people, they've mistreated people, they've been arrogant, they've been selfish, but they were winners who cut tax. I believe that Exodus is the moment when they cease to be the predominant Conservative brand, when basically people look at them and say, if you want Conservative government in this country, voting Conservative will make it less likely. And I think at that point, and I think that point was probably 20%, and the Conservatives got 15. I think at that point, people will back. The reason I call it Exodus is people will start leaving in droves to
it was
arrival.
when they raised tax to the highest level since the Second World War, and that's the Tories, and people said this isn't the Tories.
Well, at the last general election last year, it was the case that a vote for reform was a vote for the Labour Party, essentially. That's how Keir Starmer has ended up with this huge majority with very few votes. But at the next general election, I don't think that is going to be the case, because I know that the local election results, you know, local elections, people are more willing to vote for a new, smaller party. But I think it was quite clear that the death of the Conservative Party is essentially here, and a vote for reform will be a vote for reform. It's going to be between Reform and Labour. Conservatives seem to be completely dead. Kemi Badenoch has not been able to revive the party, and I know she says, "Oh, just give me time." If Robert Jenrick wins, they may get a little bit of a boost, and we're now hearing, you know, there are polls being done on should they bring Boris Johnson back, and it looks like if you did bring Boris back, that there would be a bunch of Reform voters that would be happy to go back to the Conservatives. And I hope that they don't bring Boris back, because I would rather the Conservative Party die so far that the vote on the right is not split into and that it's all going to the Reform Party.
But he let $1 million a year in.
If you ask for Boris Johnson to come back to
he's
the Conservative...
He's the net zero king, and he let $1 million a year in.
Well, this is the thing, is even if, let's say, they brought back Boris and he was able to win the next general election, Conservative Party, yes, they'd be happy. But give it a year or so and the electorate would be just as furious, if not more furious than they are now, because they would realise, oh gosh, I was swayed by his charisma and charm.
Yeah, but we had that the first time we saw it was
immigration
rubbish.
is still through the roof.
Yeah.
The country's not working. Boris Johnson, he's a great personality. He's great on a campaign trail. But in power, he's just not organised enough. He's an organisational mess.
What they've done, and Boris Johnson, the offer which he made, which is you can cut taxes in the south of England if you insist on building the infrastructure in the north of England. I think that's the way it certainly Disraeli took the view. But anyway, one thing that I think is a genuine concern is that, and I said this when I was a member of the Conservative Party, there are so many people who believe it's Reds versus Blues. Right? And what I mean by that is people who have no interest in the Conservative Party delivering Conservative government. They just want their team to win. Right? It's almost like in the same way.
Like a football team.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. I happen to be from Essex, therefore I support Manchester United. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, that's what the Red Wall was, wasn't it? People were, deserting them, and they will now desert both parties because, they've been let down by the Labour.
I think both main parties have been awful.
Well, people who are, traditionally Conservatives, have been Conservative their whole life, who were starting to get itchy and starting to get frustrated over various points over the past decade with the party's performance, they still kept putting an X in the ballot box for the Conservative Party because they thought, well, I'm not happy, but we can't get Labour in,
There's
right?
no alternative,
That was the alternative. And I understand why they would do that. I've done that at times. I've voted Conservative when I wasn't completely happy with the party because I thought, well, I don't want
What
Jeremy
is your
Corbyn
voting background, by the way? Do you mind me asking?
I've been Conservative until a few months before the general election when I decided, no, Reform Party, they have got what it takes to go forward. I wasn't going to vote for Reform if I didn't see that they were ever going to go anywhere, but it was starting to become more and more realistic that...
And that was the last general election, was it?
Yeah, the general election I voted Reform, and a few months before that I switched over to Reform. I had other friends who, a year before that had switched over to Reform. I waited and I saw which way things were going. I thought I had hope that, I'm a big fan of the saying, diamonds are made under pressure. And I thought when it got close to the general election, I used that for every essay crisis to, justify my incompetence and my disorganisation and procrastination. But anyway, when it comes to the Conservative government under Rishi Sunak, I thought, surely the pressure will hit them when it gets close to the general election. At the last minute, they'll pull their act together, they'll stop the boats, the planes to Rwanda will take off, and it will happen. So I held out. But then it got closer and closer, and nothing seemed to happen. And they just they got what they deserved.
I mean, Rishi Sunak, I was certain that he had the general election when he did because he wanted to make sure his kids could get to school in America in September. I think, and the reason I said that was that was the level
of... Are they in school?
I've no idea.
Okay. But he did go off to California for a holiday pretty soon after.
It's just the way that none of them gave a toss.
No.
I got the impression he didn't really give a crap about this country. He was looking at his own career.
What was very telling was that when he had lost the election but was still technically leader of the Conservative Party, we hadn't had the leadership contest go through yet, and we had the huge crackdown on free speech around Southport and the riots and everything.
He did nothing.
He was quiet as a mouse. I know that Parliament was out, and he may have been on holiday, but he at least could have put up a tweet or something. It would have taken him 1 minute to condemn the horrendous two-tier policing and crackdown on free speech in this country that was resulting in so many people ending up being thrown behind bars for just posting something on social media. He did not care. And
thank you so much, Heather. Why don't we go to a break, and next we've got Robert in Hertfordshire.
UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and let's go straight to Robert in Hertfordshire. Robert, you're on Talk.
Hi guys and gal, happy VE Day to you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thanks, man.
Did you watch the King's
going back,
speech? Multiculturalism did it all.
I remember going back in the 60s when I used to go and have a drink with my dad and his mates, and they were like they were pub philosophers. And he had a mate called Albert, and we were talking about the state of the country then, in the late 60s, and he said, "I'll tell you what, Robert, if you stood outside Buckingham Palace today, and when the Queen goes by, shout out, you old bastard." He said, "They'll take you away, you'll get fined 20 quid, and that'll be it." He said, "Not a bad country, is it? Not a bad country, is it?" You know, I wish I could ask him that now. That was a philosophy now. Then.
Yes.
The other thing I want to say, during this week I've seen all the Union Jacks. I think they should make it law now that every government, this is our national flag. This is our national flag.
Yeah.
It's withstood cannon fire, muskets and Zulu spears, whatever. Every government...
Well, no, it didn't actually withstand the Zulu spears, did it? In that film.
Well,
with Michael Caine, it didn't, that film.
Oh, didn't it?
No.
I think
You need to watch the ending.
Yeah, but that was only one of the battles.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
No, hang on. Isanawana, it didn't survive. Michael Caine wasn't in that film.
We found holes in your argument.
No, he wasn't. No, Michael Caine wasn't in that
He
film.
was in Zulu.
Don't ask me.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. That wasn't Zulu.
No, the loss of the colours was in Zulu Dawn, and Michael Caine was not in that film. In the film Zulu, they saved the colours.
I thought they all died in that shootout.
His opening line to Stanley Baker was, "I do wish you'd ask first, old chap." That's when he come along. He had a dead deer over his horse. And going back to, I think every government building, they should, especially County Hall with Keir Starmer, all the bunting that they've got up down Oxford Street now, leave it there. It's our national flag. Ban every other flag. No more Palestinian flags. Fly them at your embassy, and that's it. You know, every library, every hospital, every school, especially universities, the Union Jack. This is our national flag. It's not being racist. It's not being...
Oh, here we go then. Look at that.
You can't see us, Bob. If you're listening on the radio, we're wearing all Union Jack hats to celebrate.
You've got a Stetson, so have I, and you've got a pork pie hat.
Yeah, and I was very happy to see on the way in here that the top of the Shard is lit up with a big Union Jack tonight. It looks absolutely brilliant.
But Robert, you were talking about the old lags who used to drink with your dad. I mean, would they say to themselves, I mean, look, no, I'm going to ask you personally, and in fact, I'm going to ask everybody, would you have run into machine gun fire at D-Day to have a country like this? Now, I'm not saying for 1 second that this country would be better had Hitler won. That is ludicrous, utterly ludicrous. But at the same time, you know, when we go, oh, we defended freedom, we fought for democracy and freedom of speech, where is it?
But tell me, look, you're a very intelligent guy, so is Ash. Just tell me, at what point did this all start going pear-shaped? At what point?
In the 60s.
When?
It was in the 60s, wasn't it, when everyone became liberal and go, hey, everyone can do what they want to do, and that's when we lost our way, basically after the Second World War. And people didn't respect authority because, you know, of the war as well. It was like, hey, look at those old-fashioned people. This is the 60s and the 50s. This is the new generation, and that's what happened. The hippies, really.
I mean, maybe the loss of patriotism then, but I think the crackdown on free speech is much more recent.
Right, you are not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Somebody has tweeted as text in saying, why don't you have that amazing Dr. Roger on anymore? It's been months and the programme isn't the same without him. It's from Roger Geopolitical. It's from him.
So he's biased.
No, I was about to say, what a good point. Let's get Dr. Roger Geopolitical on again. But he's texting in himself.
That's a good idea, though.
Dear.
That's good. He's thinking outside the box.
Right.
Anyway, we've got loaded up the Betamax. We've got a video, haven't we?
OK. So, as a tribute to VA Day, the Air Raid Shelter Cafe in High Wycombe has recorded a song for the 80th anniversary, starring 3 veterans from Normandy. They're raising money for the Spirit of Normandy Trust. We've had these guys on before, but let's play the song.
Press play on the video.
To the left goodbye. Cheerio, I'm on my way. Goodbye, my friend.
Yeah, man.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah, man.
I've got to be honest with you. I love stuff like that, Chloe. Why are you not clapping?
Yeah,
It's
Chloe,
too
clap,
important
Chloe.
watching you clapping. It's like back when we were
there's
all
Chris.
forced to clap on a Thursday evening, remember, for the NHS every Thursday night.
No,
Miller.
Chris Miller from the Air Raid Cafe, the Air Raid Shelter Cafe. Chris, I have to say, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but when I listened to this Captain Sir Tom Moore song, it really was just a step too far. This song is actually really, really good. I would listen to it. It's a bit sentimental.
And are you
but
going
it's
to build a
anniversary.
spa with the money raised from it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going and I'm a celeb straight away.
Yeah, man.
So basically,
So what's the point? Let's get the basics.
Oh,
what's the point?
Oh.
I'm
Okay,
loving the
what
bow tie.
Thank you. So I've only just finished washing up. Seriously, it's been a busy day here.
I was about to say why.
So, unfortunately, we are closing the cafe.
I know that.
Yes, which is really sad. But I wanted to keep it going for this moment. 80 years, it's a big milestone.
What happened? What happened to the cafe?
What's happened? We're just too quiet. The location, like a lot of small towns, High Wycombe is really suffering from not being a destination.
Yes.
And when you're an independent business, we just can't compete.
And did COVID affect you badly? It must have affected
Yeah,
you.
massively. So we
Killed
all
off the clientele, yeah.
Yeah, we did. We're recovering. A lot of businesses are recovering from COVID debt, and then just as you're recovering from COVID debt, then we had the energy crisis. Blah blah blah. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but it just got to the point over Christmas where I thought, I'm young enough to start and try and do something else, or do I carry on down this path? But I feel like I owe it to the vets and all the old people that come in and all the care homes. So we've kept it going till now, and we always club together, all the customers. We wrote a song together and we've sung it between us and a local producer, and we've done a video.
Will it ever? But just look. So first of all, I think I can, having lived in Windsor for a certain amount of time, and indeed Lee, and indeed other places, I can see why in High Wycombe it might not have been a success. But would you move it to a tourist town? I mean, could we see this next to Tower of London? Could we see it in Windsor or something like that? Because fundamentally the concept's great. It's just an odd location.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So the actual plan now is to put everything in storage. And I'll be honest, I'm having a little break. Smallest violin in the world. I haven't had a weekend off for 4 years, so I can't wait just to have a few months off, and then we might try and find somewhere. But you nail on the head. We're just not in the right location. You need to be a destination. I mean, days like today are fabulous. We had 100 people in for afternoon. We had Louise singing all day. We had another singer singing. A great atmosphere. But you're not here on a Tuesday at 10:30. When you've got 2 tables in.
And is it an actual air raid shelter, or is it a themed air raid shelter cafe?
So the cafe has this. So if you see behind me, this is a 1940s kitchen.
Can we put this on full screen so we can have a bit of a look? Because obviously the screen we're looking at is quite small as well. Yeah, go for it.
So the idea is that you have different areas in the cafe.
Yeah, man.
Where you can sit. So this is the kitchen.
Yeah.
Then you have a little living room.
Oh, I see.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Then you've got the back garden. You see with
yeah.
It does look like an air raid. It looks a bit like the Cabinet War Room, you know, in London.
That's upstairs. So upstairs we do actually have a Churchill room, which is, which is like the war room. We have all our boats.
I mean,
here.
it must have taken you years to assemble all this gear.
Yeah. So I opened in January 19 with just one picture of a Spitfire, and there were a lot more veterans alive then.
Chris, we're going to have to leave it there, but I'm going to say to everyone, Chris Miller needs a new location in a tourist town for the Air Raid Shelter Cafe. Come on, somebody's got to have some
great.
I
love it, man.
Shall we play the music? Let's see if we can play the music to play us out. Goodbye to Chloe. See you later.
Bye,
Can we get the music on?
Back under the photocopier. No.
Okay. We will be back just in 5 minutes with your calls.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, this is the press preview. Hang on a second, Asher. I thought you were going to wear your hat.
Oh, yeah,
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould. That looks dreadful on me. Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and indeed our guest co-host this evening is Councillor Alistair Chambers, newly re-elected. Well done.
Wait. Do you get paid in your job for the councillor, or is it just expenses and nice trips everywhere?
So it's called an allowance. So basically, is a wage.
They give it that name, but
they give it the name, but you don't get pension, holiday pay, sick pay. It's just a standard.
You just get looked after.
It's not if you call 10 grand a year looked after, I don't think it is.
No, not really.
So you faced it was difficult in your ward, wasn't it? Because you run as an independent, and we won't go into details, but you've suffered a smear campaign during the election. But we're glad to see you back.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You were a former Conservative, weren't you?
That's correct. Yeah. Now independent.
And you fell out with them about the COVID thing?
Various different things. But good to be independent, standing against the big parties: Reform, Labour, Liberal. Green
so
Party,
do the locals know you then? Obviously that's why you got one, because they must like what you're doing.
I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I do work hard in the area. So
what things have you done that they all vote for you?
I've got a lot of sort of bugbear roads resurfaced. I haven't been resurfaced since like the 1960s.
Oh, that's good.
Concrete roads removed that were put in, sort of prehab houses and whatnot.
Free houses?
Prehab, around all the prehab.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you something. Those concrete roads are noisy. They're horrible, aren't they?
So they're over the moon with new asphalt, tarmac roads. Yeah, it's fantastic. The area's really coming on. Reduced fly tipping, reduced antisocial behaviour.
It's those little things that people worry about, because we've got the front pages today and everyone's going to be talking about trade deals, everyone's going to be talking about the Pope, everyone's going to be talking about Donald Trump, but the reality is keeping your taxes low, making sure there's no hot potholes and making sure the bins are collected every week.
Hot potholes, that's what they have in Lancashire.
It's every fortnight where I'm from.
Oh, no.
They're looking to move it every month.
Can I tell you something?
You'll get rats the size of donkeys like Birmingham.
It'd be terrible.
Yeah.
Rats, there's such a problem with rats nowadays. Anyway, Asher,
well, the Metro, first of all, holy smoke, that was quick, and the racist smoke, David Lammy calls it racist. A new Pope has been elected in record time and become the first American pontiff in history. Cardinal Bob Francis Prevost, 69, who takes the name Pope Leo XIV, I prefer Pope Bob, was chosen after 4 rounds of voting on the second day of a conclave of 133 cardinals that expected to last for days. Instead, of white smoke emerged from the chimney above the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican after just 25 hours.
My favourite bit about this is the way that nobody knows about the election, do they? You have all these experts on TV and radio going, well, I think, Mikhail Mbutu's going to get it because we now need somebody from wherever. And they always get it completely wrong. And then when the name gets read out, they've got no idea who the person is and they've never mentioned them at all.
But interestingly, they've got a Trump fan on now. They've got a Trump Pope.
A Trump Pope?
Yeah, apparently he's a big Trump fan, isn't he? Yeah.
Did you see the AI of Trump that he posted?
They're calling him the MAGA Pope.
Did you see the picture of Trump? He posted an AI image of him.
Go on.
Have you not seen it?
No, what was it?
Oh, it's absolutely hilarious. Him as the Pope.
As the Pope, yeah.
Trump did it.
It's like you already knew.
The MAGA Pope,
Do you reckon he already done a deal with the Cardinals?
It was prophetic, wasn't it?
But you were saying to me in the car coming over here that Trump will be going, believe me, the Cardinals knew America needed to be supported. It was all because of me. It'll be like that, won't it?
Best deal ever.
Maybe that's how the new Pope will talk as well. I'm the Pope. I'm going to be a great Pope.
I got the Cardinals on side.
I'm going to make the Vatican City great again. I'm going to put up trade tariffs.
He's going to have make the Vatican great again on his...
put 10% on wine, 20% on bread.
25% on imported cars. Because the Vatican, we don't export any vehicles. We don't export anything at all.
Communion's going up 35%.
Yeah, the principal export is communion bread and wine and papacy. That's it.
Right, and also a picture of King Charles. You made ultimate sacrifice. You will never be forgotten.
That looks like his father.
You should say, right, it does, doesn't it? It does look like Prince Philip. There's one of the old blokes. I mean, they're all pushing 100 or over 100 now, the last few veterans from there. And Starmer and Trump hail historic deal. Well, I mean, What's the he's done a crap deal and he can thank Brexit. You know, he's going on about how great the deal is, and it's Brexit that's given it to him. But it's not a great deal. He's basically been turned over by the Americans from all the commentators I'm reading.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to be getting chlorinated chicken and hormone-based beef.
Yeah.
You want a bit of hormone?
Have you never had
beef?
chlorinated chicken?
I don't know.
It's delicious. You got to do it, don't you?
No,
You got to
I
try
had
it.
horse.
Bit chlorine.
Right. Yeah. When did you eat horse?
Well, I went to Burger King.
We've all
They actually did admit it, though. They did admit it. Not anymore. This was before.
I don't think they ever had it. It was in some supermarkets. IKEA had it. A lot of the supermarkets had it in their lasagnas. We've all eaten horse.
Yeah, but hang on a second.
Don't worry about
when
that.
we discovered that Finder's lasagna was made entirely from horse, there's two things you could do about that. You could either say Findus needs to change it back to beef, or say if we all liked it for the past 10 years, why not just keep eating it? Because I had. In Slovenia, their biggest burger bar is the Slovenian Horse Burger Bar, and I've eaten horse burgers loads of times.
There was a horse butchers in Birmingham up until the 1970s. You'd have queues around the block. Yeah, and I remember during the horse crisis, they were actually making horse burgers, and everyone was comparing them, going, "Oh, this is delicious," because they are a very, it's a very fine meat. But these were ex-racehorses, some of them, and they had hormones and stuff in them. So not.
But chlorine chicken. The reality is, in the EU, it is the law to wash salad in the same chlorine water, or not literally the same, but the same quantity of chlorine as the Americans are dipping the chicken in, and it prevents salmonella.
There's a massive salmonella type outbreak in South Wales recently, and I think the restaurant owners literally from not washing the lettuce, and they got coleslaw poisoning.
You see, American lettuce would have been all right.
Lingonella or something it's called.
Yeah, disgusting things. Disgusting things. Anyway, the King's speech at VE Day. I mean, I just think, where he was basically implying that multiculturalism won the war. I mean...
Oh, dear.
Well, a lot of the empire, they did actually...
Yeah, but it wasn't multiculturalism, was it?
There was
black and Indian.
Indians, a lot of Indians.
No. But the point I'm making is just because there was an Indian army, just because there was an army from the Caribbean, just because there was an army from Britain and America, doesn't mean it was a multicultural...
it was a world war.
Yeah, that's right.
It says it in
the
word, world war.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't multicultural.
He's just got to spread his woke.
They got to spin it.
It kind of takes the praise out of the amazing work they've done. The
I
veterans.
agree with that.
And the I paper, UK wins global race to shake off worst Trump trade tariffs. Big win for car and steel industries, but fears US will continue to push for hormone-treated beef and chlorinated chicken exports. But they're not going to buy any steel of us, and we don't really make any steel now because we shut down all the plants and the cars. Well, we only make cars for foreign companies now, and then the Americans don't buy our cars.
No. To be fair, 100,000 cars actually is quite a lot, simply because there are things like Bentleys and top-end Range Rovers and whatever. We don't sell ordinary cars to anywhere in the world, but we do sell some of these very expensive Bentley.
But they're German, aren't they? They're BMWs and Volkswagens.
The reality is there are cars that are built in Britain for foreign manufacturers, and as an example, Bentley and Crewe is one of the big ones.
Yeah. Do you think the trade deal is going to open up health concerns with America coming in privatising the NHS?
Well, they're already in part of the NHS. They're already doing certain tests and things. I mean, they were never going to buy the NHS. Who would want to buy the NHS? It's a failing business.
If it was run properly, it wouldn't be.
But there's certain tests, things that we do with the NHS that are sent to private companies that are American. I mean, there's nothing wrong. In fact, American have some of the best medical.
So you got no worries there?
No, I've got no worries.
Well, the NHS needs to be finished anyway.
Keep the NHS as a British.
We need to have it's rubbish. It's like it's a sacred cow, and it's killing people because we're all in this. We've got to keep the NHS.
Cows
we should have a private
ice cream.
We should have a private system like the French or the Germans or the Israeli system, where if you're not, if you're in poverty, then you don't have to pay, and if you've got the money, and take it out of our national insurance.
All right.
See, I'm going to
keep the NHS British.
I'm going to take my hat off simply because you two have got good hats, and my hat's rubbish.
Well, you picked the bowler hat.
No, I didn't. I just didn't want to.
We're going to get you. We've got a good one. We'll get you the good one. We've got a nice one, yeah.
Okay. So the American Pope. Do we actually think there's any implication for this, or does it just not matter at all?
I think there's an implication. I think old Prince Charles here was meeting with Trump.
Prince Charles.
King
Prince Charles.
Apologies, everyone.
Prince Charles.
King Charles.
King Charles
is going to meet with Trump. Yeah. I think this is a sort of an olive branch to America.
Do you think?
I think so, for sure. Because they did kick off before the Vatican. They didn't want an American pope.
Yeah, well, they were all saying there was loads and loads of brilliant American candidates, but they didn't want an American to be pope. Mind you, to be fair, as I said at the beginning of the show, all of these pundits and I include myself, have got literally no idea what goes on in the conclave at all.
No, of course we've got no idea, but my gut feeling is that they've picked an American Pope to build relations with America, to keep it united.
Everything is pivoting in the world since Trump took power. You can see it affecting in all... In fact, you saw it before he was president. Other countries were sorting out things because they knew it was coming.
Exactly, everyone's bending over backwards for him. And
but we're not realising that because all the press and the media are not mentioning it, or good stuff.
Yeah, no, you're entirely right there.
Do you like his hat? It's Venetian now.
I look like I went to
Just
Harrow.
one cornetto.
I think it suits you. I think it does look good.
So, okay, the VE Day 80th anniversary, which is on the front page of the iPaper, it says we must continue to remember them. How are we going to remember them? Because this is going to... I know we always say this is the last one, but this has got to be the last one, hasn't it? Because these guys would have to be 98 years old, wouldn't they?
I think documenting everything... audio, visuals, videos, I think is really important to make sure we've got a library of absolutely everything. There you go. Am I the only one that's a cowboy hat now?
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
We're country bumpkins.
I'll tell you what I quite liked. I quite liked that thing that they did from the First World War a couple of years ago, where they were able to do the voices of all of the people that had served, and they were able to put it all into colour and everything. It cost an absolute fortune, but it'd be easier to do that nowadays because I think people don't necessarily connect with it, and people don't necessarily care about the freedoms that these people fought for. I mean, they'd give them away for nothing.
Oh, yeah, right.
In Life section of the paper, I paid £360 to avoid housework. It made me a better wife and mother. Right, so that's that one.
What about this though? Russell Tovey says, in the 80s, homophobia was horrific. Now it's transphobia. We're obsessed with transphobia, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
Well, that's made homophobia worse, hasn't it? Because now, when gay rights had been sorted and everyone was just accepting, now because they've been lumped in with all the, other things, it's starting to affect them.
It's true. I've got quite a lot of gay friends, and they're really opposed to trans sort of men and women, really.
And they get sucked into it.
Yeah, they're...
But I think the danger is you're amputating the genitals of the mentally ill. I'm sorry to say that, but that is the reality.
It's quite a brutal way of saying it.
Well,
but
it's
in reality,
young
it is the
people
reality,
as well,
isn't it?
and it ruins some people. It ruins their lives.
And what I worry about it, Alistair, is when you and I were growing up, we're a similar age. Well, in fact, we're all a similar age, in truth. But when we were growing up, there was all these TV shows about Welsh care homes and the abuse that went on. And you thought, how on earth could these people allow this abuse to take place? This is in 20 years' time. There's going to be documentaries about the Tavistock clinic.
Scandal.
100%. It's going to be a massive scandal. There's going to be, how did it go wrong? How do we let this happen?
Yeah, why did we allow this to take place?
There's going to be all these scary stories.
And there's going to be people on the TV going, I was 12 years old, I went in, and they began putting me on puberty blockers.
Yeah, there'd be people on there saying, look, I wish I had my penis back.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, it sounds comical, but there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
By the way, I still have mine.
Yeah, cut that bit out when he goes, I want my penis back. We'll use that
that's
in the trail.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll edit
We'll
it
just
out.
cut that bit
so
out,
every
yeah.
advert will be you in your cowboy hat going, I want my penis back.
The Daily Telegraph, PM hands US veto on China deals, and Trump credits Brexit for tariff cutting trade agreement that will give him a say in British investment. And he'll probably be better at the job than our current organisation. What do you think the deal? I've seen a lot of people saying this is a terrible deal. Tariffs to the States have been halved, and we've had ours tripled and stuff like that. Or...
To be honest with you, I haven't looked that much into it because it's only just been a recent deal. But I have looked at the Indian deal, and I think that's absolutely shocking.
The national insurance.
National insurance.
Well, why wouldn't you employ an Indian person? Because you're not going to have to pay the national insurance as an employer, are you?
Well, that's precisely the question everyone's asking.
Unless I had a curry house, I wouldn't employ an Indian.
Well, they're not even Indian. They're mainly Bangladeshi.
Yeah, well, they don't.
If you go to India and ask for sagaloo, they go, I don't know what you're talking about. The fried eggs and chips.
As in the curry houses, they're all Bangladeshi.
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is, I was looking at, there's 82,000 Indians in the UK at the moment. I think 42,000 are seeking asylum. And they're the second biggest illegal boat incoming in are after Afghans are Indians.
Yes.
They're not at war. They're not being persecuted. They're already in France. I don't get why they're coming over.
They're not the engineers and doctors that do come from India. There are a lot of
But once again, we are faced, Alistair, and I know you're an employer and you've got various businesses. We are talking about a national insurance hike that's going to damage jobs, and lo and behold, the migrants don't pay.
I just don't get it. And I was trying to look it out. It's a £5 billion deal, apparently, in Britain's favour by doing this. But if you work out the cost for 82,000 employee national insurance that's not being paid, times that by, say, 2,000 a year NI, then add in the 4,000 a year the employer has to pay, that's 6,000 per year per 82,000. I think that's something like $750 million.
Yeah, so let's do it. Let's do it. 82,000. And you're multiplying it by 6,000.
What's that?
Yeah, it's £500 million.
£500 million. That's in 1 year. So you've got 10 years of that. You've got your money back anyway, and British people are doing British jobs.
And also, I think there was a survey that looked into, because in India you can there's a way to get around exams, and 1 in 5 doctors who come from there, they've got it a bit fraudulently. Some of these.
Yeah, they've sort of done a treatment operation on a rat.
Yeah, well, not even that. They've just got the documents and they get the job in the NHS.
I'll tell you, I've got a real concern about some of these dodgy foreign accreditations. You drive around London. I don't drive, but obviously I sit in cars with people. I will tell you, people do not have genuine driver's licences in London. A large number of people can't drive.
You should have your fingerprint taken at your test, because people take tests for people, don't they?
Well, I know it sounds
or your
ridiculous.
Photo taken or something.
Even sort of taxi driver tests. They're not passing those legally. They're paying off and then bypassing it.
I mean, I got into a taxi once in London, and I know it's not very common in London, but the Asian gentleman driving was half the age of the picture of the person that had the licence. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, this racist trope that everyone looks the same from a particular race is just garbage. The bloke, he had a different face. He was completely different.
And the worrying thing is, we ask them to take you to a landmark like, I don't know, Big Ben or something, and they just take you in completely the opposite direction. They haven't passed the actual
knowledge
accreditation.
And you very rarely, I don't know about in London though, it's like this. You very rarely get white English people driving. I mean, I'm not being.
You do the black cabs.
Yeah.
You do more with the black.
But why not in Ubers?
Because you don't have to pass the stringent tests of black cabs.
Yes.
You don't have to pass the knowledge test.
Yeah, but why aren't they getting the jobs though?
Well, because it's very easy to swap over drivers. So as a black cab, you've got to go through certain tests.
Yeah, that's right.
Employed by the council. As an Uber, you literally just fly through their system.
But there was. I saw somebody saying that some of these big companies with the WA, they're encouraged to just employ people from foreign areas.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt, because people are willing. I mean, what annoys me about immigration when they go, people are coming over to do the jobs we don't want. Why do you not want the job? Because they're crap and they're badly paid. And then what happens is we end up in a situation where people go, well, immigrants to Britain are all disadvantaged. You've literally brought them here to do jobs that are badly paid. How can you then complain they're poor?
And without paying tax.
It's absolutely right.
Bonkers.
IRGC plotted London attack to thwart peace. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps plotted the alleged terrorist attack on Israel's embassy in London to derail nuclear peace talks with the US. Insiders have told the Telegraph sources that the regime suggests a hardline faction within the IRGC is to blame for sanctioning an attack on the embassy in Kensington. The imminent attack was allegedly foiled. Now, we've all seen these explosions going off in Iran just mysteriously everywhere, and maybe that is Mossad, and maybe this is what they're doing. We know this country's full of IRGC agents. I don't know why we let all these people in, but, it's obviously really dangerous. And, they only need to be successful once, like the IRA used to say, and we're in deep trouble. And they're keeping quiet. There were loads of raids on migrant hotels, and people are adding 2 and 2 together and saying, was this linked to illegal immigration? And obviously, if it is, they're going to keep that really quiet, like they like to cover up everything, as was shown with this report to Southport, which basically said that Starmer was lying, wasn't he, saying? Anyway, look, we'll talk about...
I'll tell you what we will do. Let's keep talking about this, but let's. Yeah. I know you're going to the break, but let's say to everyone, we are going to keep talking about
Mike Graham, by the way, is after this.
Because I have to say to you, the worry about foreign intelligence officers and foreign military forces being brought into the country through illegal immigration, it's a real concern. More next.
UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, somebody's asked an anonymous question, God, as we do our hair because we've taken the hats
We've got
off.
hat hair.
Somebody's asked, should we boycott Indian-owned businesses until Starmer reverses race-based taxation? No, absolutely not, simply because a lot of the businesses that you think are Indian are almost certainly not Indian.
Like Curry's Electrical.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, we're going...
Nothing to do with Curry.
We're going on... Are you coming on Sunday to the Curry...
Oh, you got the Curry
annual dinner?
Where is it?
It's at the Hilton Paddington.
Yeah,
very welcome.
Definitely. I love it.
Yeah, would it be cheaper because there's no NI now?
Yeah. No, these are
seriously.
Bangladeshis.
Fantastic.
It's a British Bangladeshi Caterers Association. They're saying that they're extremely worried. What they're saying is that they would like, first and foremost, on visas, for them to be able to bring chefs into the country, but them not have the right to British citizenship. Because the problem is, at the moment, you bring over a Bengali chef, which they need to run the kitchens, and then what happens is, when, after he's worked here for 4 to 6 years, he's entitled to a British passport, well, he can bring the whole family over. What they're saying is, if you had a visa that didn't entitle you to bring over the family, then it'd be easier to bring people over.
Like an Australian-based visa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they speak, is it Bengali in the kitchens? You don't speak English? Yeah,
no, they don't speak English in the kitchen.
So it's, in that instance, you don't want them to speak English.
No, absolutely not. But anyway, let's talk about this front page, which is what was it? 8 Iranians get arrested, and the government said, let's not speculate on what the target was. Yeah, it's the Israeli embassy, isn't it? Blatantly, right? Because that may damage the investigation. It won't. It's blatant that we have brought people into this country who are Iranian operatives. Now, the fact that the Israeli embassy is a target, the fact the Spanish embassy is a target, the fact that British embassies around the world are targets is not the shocking bit of this. The shocking bit is that we have allowed, through uncontrolled immigration, to bring foreign operatives, sleeper cells.
I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? At the airport, why do they bother with passport control? Because, you know, it's to stop dangerous people. But if you just let everyone in, and a lot of them come from dangerous countries where they are Islamists, and anyone gets in. So if you're a terrorist organisation, it's very easy to get them in. So there must be hundreds of people in, if you think about it.
I brought out a council motion in Gloucestershire County Council where I asked for the county council to carry out audits on all illegal immigrants in the hotels to identify if they're wanted for any sex offences in their home country. Wow. Any sort of rape, criminal backgrounds, etc. And I was refused, and I was told I was completely racist.
They throw their passports away, though, don't they?
Yeah, but
the onus should be on them to prove who they are.
But then they've got to prove where they're from, through their country.
They have to do it, or they're not in.
But I was told I was racist.
Let's just be clear, and just to remind everyone who's just tuned in, this is the paper review with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and Councillor Alistair Chambers. I mean, I find that extraordinary, and that must be true up and down the country, that there's a motion in Gloucestershire at the county council saying we want to know who these people are, and the council refuses it.
The Lib Dem opposition refused it, and then the Tories sort of backed down and sort of watered down. Is
that because the councils can't find out because the Home Office won't tell them?
They could work in partnership with the Home Office to identify people at risk. At the end of the day, there's safeguarding, adult safeguarding. So there's no reason why these checks and balances can't be carried out to make sure that people are safe on the streets, especially safeguarding around children and vulnerable adults.
By the way, somebody's contacted us about VE Day, and I'd be interested in your views on this, Alistair. I'll tell you what mine are before we start. What are your thoughts on Ukraine being invited to the March for VE Day? Parts of Western Ukraine were in Nazi divisions. I'll tell you what I personally think. I think if you are connected with the Red Army, and we could have a Red Army group, if you like, I think for Ukraine to march in an individual country is a little bit odd because it was part of the Soviet Union. But equally, you know, you've got to be very careful because not everybody who served for the Ukrainians in World War II was on our side.
So my opinion on that is you've got to remember they were kind of heavily run by the Soviet Union, so they saw Nazism as a way of freeing up the country, and their attack on the Soviet Union, which sort of persecuted them.
Yes.
But they also, you know, murdered 30,000 Jews into the pits. The Nazis didn't need to do that. The Ukrainians were happy to do that.
Yeah. So
most of the concentration camp guards were Ukrainians.
But then again, they did then turn on the Nazis. But Italy, no different. And Italy allowed in the marches. And
Italy did protect their populations better.
No, hang on a second. But my understanding is the VE Day march, it was only our side that was allowed to march, wasn't it? Because, I mean, if it was the Germans allowed to march, that'd be...
Well, that was, failure in Europe Day in Germany, isn't it? Apparently in France there's not much going on today, because I think they're probably a bit embarrassed about it, because they didn't obviously
The
win
Russians
the war.
have a big thing.
So the Russians do it on the 9th.
The day,
'cause they celebrate
tomorrow.
it at, 1 minute past 12. So do other countries as well in Europe. We're not the only ones that celebrate on the 8th.
I mean, it's slightly difficult because there is no doubt that Ukraine, as part of the Soviet Union, was on the Allies' side. There is no doubt about that. However, a large portion of Ukraine did support the Nazis. It's just a very difficult thing. I suppose the actual answer is Ukraine as a country. But the thing is, can I be honest with you, Alistair? France as a country officially was on our side. Unofficially, in reality, it was now live Germany. People are going to kick off about that. But the Vichy regime and whatever.
Yeah, you see, they had a quandary. They were nationalists, but they were also anti-Semites. So they liked to murder Jews, but then they also didn't like. You know, it was a bit of a quandary for them.
Yeah, Spain as well, being independent in the war. They actually sent out blue divisions called the Azov, and they fought against the Russians on the Eastern Front. So
yes.
There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Well, I suppose if I was going to nail my colours to the mast on anything, I think because Ukraine officially was on the side of Britain, and I think it's the same with France. In reality, ordinary French people fought for the Nazis under the Vichy regime and were very, very supportive. But see, when I was a kid, we used to get told that 250,000 free Frenchmen went up the beaches at D-Day, which of course is garbage. Simply no truth to that whatsoever. But I think if you're going to say that France was on our side, you have to say that Ukraine was on our side as well, simply because both of them fought for us initially. Both of them were seen to be on the winning side, and the bit in between was ordinary members of the public.
Exactly, and throw in Italy in the same mix.
Italy's a bizarre one because it was on both sides.
That's what I'm saying. So ultimately, it was, wasn't it?
British troops this is still on the Telegraph, British troops could be forced on EU missions. British soldiers could be deployed on EU military missions as the price for joining the bloc's 150 billion euros rearmament programme. The deployments are set out in a leaked draft of the new defence and security partnership. It's being negotiated as a centrepiece of a UK-EU summit in London on May the 19th. The draft states that Sir Keir Starmer would have to... It's Brexit all but in only name, isn't it? We're going back into the EU.
I'm not really understanding on that. Can you explain it a bit more?
Yeah, so basically, it's very, very simple. We want to do things like, if you think about it, the RAF Typhoon is the Eurofighter, as it used to be called. So we want to start building military equipment together, but the EU is obsessed with having its own army, and it's determined that if we are going to procure military equipment together, if we're going to build military equipment together, it wants to be able to deploy Britain as part of its military.
Which is outrageous. I mean, the EU is already starting to fall apart. We do not want an army, a joint army. We're not the USA. The EU tries to be the USA.
I mean,
it will never be that.
If you look at the worst kept military secret in the world, what's stuck under Gibraltar, which I won't tell everyone, even though it's the worst kept military secret ever. But you know, the British and American Mediterranean submarine fleets. I've given it away now, haven't I? The British and American Mediterranean submarine fleets.
Oh, is that where they are?
Operators. Well, obviously, that's where they are.
Loose lips sink ships.
Operators the same.
Submarines, yeah.
Operators the same as the same naval force in reality, but that's people who speak the same language operating the same equipment. I think what the Europeans need, frankly, is probably the aircraft carriers.
Yeah, but I mean, European armies have never been any good, have they? I mean, our army has always been the one that wins the wars. They always seem to... You know, they've all lost wars, haven't they?
By the way, if anyone's going to call in to tell me off about being indiscreet about Gibraltar, everyone knows. And
there's a sort of a pretend town, isn't there, underneath, where they used to do training and stuff like that.
There's some beautiful caves in there.
Yeah.
You know. Did you know that's where the Royal Engineers started, and also the...
But don't tell them that as well. I know everything now.
Royal Marines Berry badge is actually the Rock of Gibraltar.
Is it?
Because it was one of the first excursions where they're on the ships, and then they went to land to steal. Oh, not steal, sorry, I'm Spanish.
It's Spanish,
So they went onto the land and obviously took the Rock of Gibraltar, basically as pirates. That was the first mission of the Royal Marines, hence the reason from land to sea.
Is that right?
And they're the oldest soldiers, aren't they, in the British services?
They're actually coming to the Navy.
Yeah, but they're soldiers.
Yeah, they are soldiers. So somebody told me that they're the only people allowed on with weapons on boats because all the rest of them wanted to mutiny and go home. But the Royal Marines were all right. OK, let's take a call. Paula is in Halifax. Paula, you're on talk.
Oh, good evening, Andre.
Hello.
You're looking very dapper tonight. I like your hairdo.
Thank you.
It's her.
Yeah, how are you, Wurzel?
Wurzel?
Wurzel Gummidge.
Oh, yeah, because we were talking about that, weren't we, on Plank of the Week?
That's like a Wurzel Gummidge hat.
Yeah, it is a bit, yeah.
Are you? No, I like your hairdo. Where have you had that done?
Downstairs at my flat, like, my neighbour's a hairdresser.
Oh, not
Trish
you.
did it. Him, he hasn't had his hair cut.
I never have my hair cut.
It just stays naturally. It's a wig.
No, my hair gets done. My hair gets done when basically the producers of the show say, "I'm sorry, you've got so out of control. You're looking like, oh my God, can I tell you this? This will make you all laugh.
Morrissey.
This will make you all laugh." When we're in Runcorn, me and Lois Perry, somebody tweeted a photo of us and said, "It's Freddie Boswell and Lilo Lil." That is genius.
No, you do.
Which one was which, though?
I love you, Freddie Boswell. She is a tart.
So how can we help you, Paula? What's on your mind? Let's get it on the radio, as Mike Dickin used to say.
I'm a natural, you guys. I like to always give you a bell.
What do you mean? Just like say hello?
No, can you do us a big favour, Paula? This is the press preview. Obviously, it runs on the Andre Walker and Asher Gould Late Show, but it also runs on the early breakfast as well on Friday morning. We have been racking our brains about being able to say anything about the Pope. Do you care in any way about the fact the Pope is American and there's a new one?
No.
No. Neither do the viewers and listeners, to be totally honest. Nobody cares.
I've seen it on news. I was like, oh, yawn.
Yeah. Because you get Pope every 3-4 years now, don't you, it seems?
Yeah, but then you get all these people who pray to the Lord and then commit crimes to young kids. And I'm a firm believer of live by your conscience.
Well, that's right. The Catholic Church has a major problem with child abuse. But I'll tell you the thing that made me laugh, though, about it, and that isn't a funny thing, when they said they were thinking of getting the Bishop of Jerusalem as the Pope, but age 60, he was considered too young for the job. Oh, wow. At 69, they're going, oh, he's quite young.
Do you remember back in the early 80s when they got that Pope in and he only lasted 60 days? He died in his sleep, and there were rumours that it was the mafia.
John Paul I.
Yeah, there was rumours that the mafia bumped him off because
Pope John Paul I.
I've never been Pope. No, he was bumped off, wasn't he, they say, by the mafia, because there was a lot of links with the Vatican banks and the mafia, and there was the guy, the Pope's banker, that was found hanged under Blackfriars Bridge here back in the 80s as well. There's a lot of nefarious stuff goes on in those corridors.
Well, I'm sure that one of the biggest secrets, and I'm sure I've got no evidence of this, but I believe the solid gold menorah is in the Vatican City.
Well, you see on the Colosseum, they've carved them, taking the menorah out.
So just explain what the menorah is.
It's the big candlesticks that were in the temple that the Romans basically destroyed the Second Temple. And there's actually a picture of frieze on the Colosseum, and they used the money that they nicked from Jerusalem to build the Colosseum. And there's actually a group carrying it. And there's rumours now that all the Jerusalem stuff is in the basement of the Vatican.
Oh, I'm sure that's right.
Still there, man.
Probably.
I'm sure that's right, but of course, the Freemasons believe that the Knights Templar found the proof that God existed in the holiest of holies in the Temple of Jerusalem, nicked it, and that's why they got killed.
Like in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's
that bit in the pyramids.
The face goes all the way down. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, we still got anything else, Paula? Or you just wanted a little chat with us?
Yes, I wanted to tell you that I've had to have an emergency brain scan.
Well, right, sorry to hear that.
I get the results tomorrow.
What, have you been fainting or something? What's happened that you've had to have that?
No, it's forgetfulness and confusion and...
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of neurological problems on with me as well. So,
well, that's good. You're getting a brain scan there. Yeah.
Well, I hope everything goes well, Paula.
I've had the brain scan. I had it with.
And how are you finding the NHS? You sound like you're getting all the right help. Is it all right? Is it around your area?
Well, then I've got. Well, yeah, but then another 3 weeks. I've got my checkup for my cancer scan. And I'm like, just throw it to me.
Well, let us know if they cancel it, because the way they're getting waiting lists now down is giving the appointments and then cancelling them on the last minute, and that sort of takes it off the waiting list, but actually it doesn't really change anything.
I've heard that quite a bit.
Yeah, I've had it with a little thing.
I didn't have that. They rang me on the Sunday and said about a cancellation. Can you come in tomorrow? I had to wait 4 days.
Well, they're probably intimidated by you, Paula.
That's what I mean, and I went in feet first.
They're scared of you.
Feet first, not head first.
Well, we wish you luck, and let's go straight to a break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Why would we want to talk about that? Okay, this is the Late Show.
I'll have a 99 and Mr. Whippy.
This is the Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and Councillor Alistair Chambers. Right. The reason, Alistair, that I wanted to talk to you about your new ice cream place is because I want to ask you this: fish and chips have now got another problem. Do you remember that we've had all this thing about the salad cream becoming mayonnaise and all that sort of thing? Right. So now Heinz fish and chip sauce is now becoming tartar sauce.
No, the other way around.
Do you approve?
Tartar sauce is now going to be called fish and chip sauce, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Is that a problem?
I don't know, is it?
Because people aren't sophisticated. They go, what's tartar? And they go think about that stuff on your teeth, don't they? So fish and chip sauce, it's for thick people. Go, oh, that's what it's for.
Yeah, it's not a problem, is it? Makes it nice and easy.
I loved when kids were asked...
Dumbing down.
Kids were asked by Heinz what they should do with tomato sauce. They said, the best way to improve it is make it green. And they went, but tomatoes are red. And they went, yeah, but it'd be cool being able to squeeze green goo all over.
Do any of you, when you run out of Thousand Island sauce, mix a bit of tomato ketchup and mayonnaise?
Everyone does that.
I don't think everyone does.
I don't know.
See, there you go.
I had a friend of mine.
Should I be doing that?
You should be. It tastes just like Thousand Island sauce.
Do you put HP sauce in beans, baked beans?
No.
Oh, well,
sounds repulsive.
Makes a whole new dish.
My niece was a bit... sorry, my aunt was a bit short on money once, and what she did was she decided that she'd just make a load of dips, and she just got mayonnaise, mixed it with barbecue, mayonnaise, mixed it with tomato, and people were going, this is prawn cocktails. All this.
Yeah, well, that's all they are, isn't it, really? They're just mixtures. There's mustard and... Do you remember when they were going to get rid of salad cream, and there's a big furore, and it became a luxury product.
Cream's amazing.
Yeah, I think they did it as a sort of way to get everyone.
I love that.
To have
I love that. Where there was, they ran an advert, and I can't believe nowadays people would kick off about it because animal cruelty. But they had this dog. And it's like, can you find Rover missing for 4 days? And underneath it said, everything tastes supreme with Heinz salad cream. It's like that's a disgrace.
Right, the Daily Star, our Daily Star VE, very special, and there's Princess Kate. On the 80th anniversary of VE Day, we remember and celebrate all those who served during the Second World War. And the future's orange. And there's this is awkward, David Lammy. There's a picture of him because David Lammy has said, "Be in no doubt, a trade deal with Donald Trump will mean US corporations get to privatise and dismantle our NHS one bed at a time." That was a couple of years ago. Britain has signed a trade agreement with the tariff-mad Orange Man baby. Starmer and Trump both say they are winners. Wonder what Lammy, who famously warned against any Don deal, would say now. Well, he won't understand anything about it.
But I don't understand how the idea of having a trade deal where you trade more freely with each other is about winning or losing. Everybody wins, surely, if there's more trade.
Yeah, they do. More trades, more work, more employment,
Let's
more
see if
pounds.
that's what happens. But apparently it's a bad deal for us.
But less national insurance if you're employing Indians.
Oh, I find that despicable. Yeah. Oh, and James O'Brien has said that if you oppose the Indian trade deal, you're a racist.
Who is James O'Brien?
Oh, he's that.
Exactly.
I know he is, but I just wanted to say who is he?
Yeah, but actually, who is he?
Yeah, who is he?
Do you ever get into a taxi if you're coming here and people say, you say, well, I'm... you know, I'm going to Talk, and they go, oh, Talk Radio, and they don't know what it is because it's got a weird name, this company. But anyway, they go, I listen to Nick Ferrari, but who's that awful? And you go, yeah, but that's him. That's him, James.
Sounds so
O'Brien.
miserable.
Oh, he's awful. He's a dreadful man.
Right, we're going to go through some little. Don't forget Mike Graham's. He's on next. If you're listening in the morning on breakfast, he's out there looking at us with his Union Jack waistcoat on. Nothing else.
Is that as good as my Union Jack tie?
Yeah,
No.
it's a similar. No.
That Union Jack tie is brilliant.
Give
Where'd
it
you
to
get
him
it?
for the show.
Andre, you get it off the show.
Oh, thank you so
fantastic.
much. Thank you so much.
Man spread. 7 in 10 men are now classed as fat. Right, yeah. As the number of overweight people continues to rise, some 64.5% of English adults were overweight or obese last year. Well, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Do you reckon in this studio there's at least 50 stone of right winger?
At least, if not more.
Yeah,
Well,
it's probably,
I'm probably a good 20.
Do you reckon I'm probably 20 as well?
No, you're not that big, Andre.
Do you not reckon?
12.
12
stone. His leg's not 12 stone.
Asher, what do you reckon you are?
I did actually push up to 9, nearly under 20, but I think I'm about 16.
I think we are somewhere between 50 and 60 stone collectively.
Yeah. We should actually weigh ourselves as a unit.
Front row.
One
We
day.
could be a front row. Talk TV front row.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Get Hartley Brewer as the prop.
We're probably the heaviest radio show on at this time.
Yeah, that's right.
The heavyweights.
The heavyweights, man.
That's what we should call ourselves.
Talking of which, Mike Graham is next in the morning. That would get us to about 85.
I think that gets to about 85.
Yeah, so we're nearly at the 100. Who can we find for get Alan Brazil out of Talk Sport, and we're there.
Do you reckon? Hang on. Early breakfast and breakfast at Talk and Talk Sport collectively could be 100 stone of right winger. 100
They should
stone.
advertise. I could market it at that.
I think we should put a rumour around that my Graham weighs 1 metric ton.
All migrants will have to be fluent in English. Tighter rules will insist on language ability close to A-level standard. All migrants will have to learn a higher standard of English under Sir Keir Starmer's immigration reforms as part. Yeah, but if they don't, they're not going to go, right, get on the plane and get out. We know it's not going to work.
You know what? I really agree with that.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. How are they going to make
That means
them...
I can make a phone call to my bank and understand what they're asking me.
Well, I didn't say they, they might...
At the moment I'm trying to transfer, I don't know, 100 quid, and it's like mission impossible.
You have to just use PayPal.
I'll tell you the big problem is, what they'll always do is, they'll just say, well, if you're joining your family, it doesn't count. So it'll be the immigrants and the work visa people that, to be fair, have been pretty good at English anyway. All of the people coming off the boats won't count, and all the people joining their relatives. And we are in this ludicrous situation where you get a work visa to this country, 6 years later you can invite your entire family. I give the example of the guy who worked in the British Embassy in Kabul. For those people who've regularly watched and listened, I've given this example before, where when he was evacuated, he got a passport for him, his wife and 5 kids, his brother's wife and his brother's 5 kids, his mother and father, his mother and father-in-law, and sorry, he was complaining that it wasn't given to his mother and father-in-law and the siblings of his wife. And you think, we were talking about potentially, I think if you get 16 passports as part of your 2-year job at the British Embassy, plus 3 council houses, plus all the education for free, plus the free healthcare, you are talking about a package that this man earns, which would have run into millions per year.
Multi-millions, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lifetime. Think about a lifetime.
Lifetime. It's the bringing of relatives that's the big problem. The British Bangladeshi caterers are right. You need a work visa that has no right to citizenship.
There was one kebab shop that they found 600 visas had been got from this one kebab shop, which obviously didn't employ all those people. It was just fake. It's just sailing through the immigration.
That's a lot of people in the country just on that one kebab shop.
Just for the one kebab
Exactly
shop.
right. Exactly right. It's a real nightmare. It's a real nightmare.
I'd like to apologise for this story in advance. Sorry. Britain's apologised 3,285 times a year. It seems Elton John was wrong. There are few words that come as easily to Britons as sorry, research suggests. We say the word as many as 9 times a day, but not if you're Keir Starmer. He never says sorry. A study found that 90% of us routinely say sorry for things which weren't our fault.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah, I do that. If someone walks in your way, you apologise.
Sorry. Everyone goes sorry about 8 times.
Do you ever kick yourself afterwards when he says sorry and you're like, I didn't really want to say sorry then, it just came out?
Do you go back and say, actually, I'd like to retract that?
No, but I'm going to start doing that.
I think you should, yeah.
Yeah, you get it all the time. Do you not find where you like bump into someone and everyone says sorry about 8 times?
Yeah, and you're like dodging each other. And you're
sorry
again. Sorry.
You hold the door open for someone and they don't say thanks. That's really annoying. Isn't it?
You feel like slamming it.
Yeah, you feel like going and getting them and putting them back out.
I thank myself. If I open the door for someone and they don't say thanks, I say thanks very much.
Yeah.
No,
thank them for opening the door. Thank you for letting me open the door for you. You know what I mean? So anyway, right. Employee strikes back. And this story: worker sues for Sith jibe. An NHS worker won almost 30 grand compensation after being likened to Star Wars villain Darth Vader. A tribunal, well, you know, some people are. There's a few people work here like that. A tribunal ruled that comparison is insulting and upsetting, despite being told the evil Sith Lord had positive attributes, but he had bad breathing.
Hang on a second.
That's a terrible asthma.
Hang on a second. You know, this is the problem with the political left, right? The Emperor Palpatine appoints somebody who is, let's be clear, A, black, right, Darth Vader, right, B, he is quadriplegic, so he's disabled, right? He comes from a slave background, single parent, adopted, right?
But all his slaves are white. Well, the stormtroopers, they're all white.
But the reality is, Darth Vader is one of world politics' most successful, disabled former slaves who's black. Fact.
And he's got terrible bronchitis.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Not only that, he had all of his skin peeled off. He's got no arms and legs. Yeah,
is that why he's got that thing on?
Yeah, he's the world's most, well, he's the universe's most famous disabled politician.
This sort of news really winds me up. It's the sort of stuff that just churns my stomach.
Because they take everything seriously now. You can't make a joke or anything and they go, oh no, that's racist, and you were just saying something, you know.
It's just like that one caller called you and said, words or gummage. You know, it's just like...
I was actually very hurt by that.
Were you?
Well, I didn't really get it.
Sorry.
I love words or
Sorry.
Gummage.
But it's true.
Another 8 more and you've done your daily amount.
There are some people who will just sue for absolutely anything. Hello to Rupert Lowe. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I wrote that joke.
Yes. Well, the other joke you wrote was the garlic bread one, wasn't it?
Garlic bread? No, I never... Well, it led to that, yeah.
Because he didn't get it.
You
were saying cheesecake.
He didn't get it.
Garlic bread is two savoury items, therefore...
He doesn't get the joke
Peter
about
Kay
cheese
actually
and
got the joke.
Cheese and cake.
Okay.
Right, anyway, brink of war, Indian missiles hit Pakistan after terror attacks, nuclear-armed India and Pakistan... Anyway, look, let's go to Stephen Warsall. We'll talk about that after. Let's go to Stephen Warsall. It's more important.
Hello, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Steve.
I watched something very interesting last night and brought memories back to me.
What was it? The Slade film?
Pardon? No.
Was it that Slade in Flame?
It was Enoch Evans on the Dick Cavett show. Now,
Enoch Evans on the Dick Abbott show.
Enoch Powell, do you mean? Because he was on that, wasn't he?
Sorry, Enoch.
On that American TV show, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You must be mad. Do you remember
We
that?
must be mad. He was right, though.
Everything that man said has come to fruition, and he's still coming to fruition.
Well, he's the only one that's spoken about of that era now, and that says a lot, doesn't it? No one speaks about any other politician.
Seeing what's going on now.
Yeah.
And he was classed as a racist. He wasn't a racist. He was like me and you gentlemen on the show. He was a realist. And the realism is this country can't carry on with this immigration thing like it is doing, because it's totally undermining the infrastructure of the country and everything else.
Well, tell us about Warsaw.
Well, I've told you about Warsaw before. They had a referendum on towns years ago. Which was the worst one? Well, Grimsby was the first one and Warsaw was the second. That's our claim to fame.
Oh, well,
I feel incredibly sorry, Alistair, for people who have no civic pride because their place has been wrecked.
Yeah, for the small city I'm from, Gloucester, there's a hotel.
Yeah.
It's been commandeered by the Home Office, and I think there's 100 beds there, and out the 100 beds are all full of asylum seekers.
And how big's Gloucester as a town?
It's a small city.
100,000 people.
It's probably about 200,000.
So similar size to Warsaw.
But there's a fair few hotels. I'm just talking about one in particular. And
well, there was a murder in Warsaw, wasn't there, at Bescott? There was a woman wouldn't give biscuits to one of the people in the migrant hotels. He stabbed her to death on the platform.
Wow, that's brutal.
Sorry, let's
really quickly, Steve. What do you think on this? There's 100 beds in this hotel. How many of these do you reckon are working age men out of the 100 beds? Have a quick guess.
So just to be clear, Councillor Alistair Chambers is asking us. He's got one sample of one hotel in Gloucester, 100 beds, so we can do it in percentage really easily. What percentage of the migrants in this hotel are military-aged men? Oh, I'll tell you what, it's not 100, but it's high. I'm going to go for 70.
Yeah,
85%.
How about you, Steve?
Pardon?
Steve,
I'll guess for Steve. Well, it's 91% are fighting age men, and the rest are women, and each and every woman's pregnant.
Wow. So the total population of the sample you've done, let's call it percentages, of migrants in Gloucester in hotels, 91% men, 9% pregnant women.
Correct.
Wow. That's astonishing. Steve, does that worry you even more?
It worries me to death. I mean, I pray for this country. I do. I mean, this country. I lived in. I'm still living, obviously, but I lived in this country when it was a beautiful, wonderful place to live. Who's responsible for letting all this rip?
I mean, back to the subject of Gloucester, because obviously you're on here as a contributor. You're also a humanitarian aid worker in Ukraine, but you are a Gloucestershire City Councillor and a Gloucestershire County Councillor. Sorry, Gloucester City Councillor, Gloucestershire County Councillor. I walk around Gloucester having a look at it, and actually it just seems the same as so many towns. So first of all, the bit round the cathedral is genuinely worth visiting. If you haven't visited it, it's absolutely pristine. It's easily as good as Windsor Castle when you go to St George's Chapel. I've not been inside the actual cathedral, so I don't know. But then once again, we've got the same problems. Migrants wandering the streets, large numbers of drug addicts, and a lot of shops closing down as the high street starts to struggle.
Yeah, you've got your bedding shops, you've got your £1 shops, and you've got your clothes shops.
And your nail shops, you've got to get your nails done.
Loads of nail shops and loads of barbers. So many barbers, so many nail shops. It's incredible. And you have got there's so many homeless people. And that's what really gets my gripes to exactly what Steve's saying. There's all these hotels full of illegal immigrants. Yeah, there's British-born, British native people on the streets suffering, especially over a winter period, and that was really, really hard to see. And
do you remember during COVID, they gave every homeless person a hotel room? It's like they were testing out this new way of, can we get hotel rooms, can we get away with it? But then they gave them hotel rooms because of COVID, but now it doesn't really matter because there's no COVID, they can just die on the streets.
Well, they can do that because when the temperature drops from -2 consecutively over 3 days, they have to bring them in on a thing called SWEP. so they can find housing and then clear the streets. So they can do it.
Well, they can do it.
They choose not to.
The problem half the time is the police, because the police say that begging is a lifestyle choice. Vagrancy laws exist for a very simple reason. They beg for the money and buy heroin and crack. And if we stop them getting money and literally say, no, I'm sorry, we are arresting you under vagrancy and we are sticking you into accommodation against your will, that's the solution.
Yeah, for sure.
But they won't go. They cause problems because they're on drugs. They don't want them in those places, basically, because they do cause problems. But, you know, they need to help them out more.
Well, you've got a whole hotel full to the brim of illegal immigrants. They're not mixing them and moving them into other hotels. So why can't you have a whole hotel for homeless people?
And if they're drug addicts, it should be treated as they've got medical issues and get them off it. Use proper laws, not just criminalise people because they take drugs.
OK, Steve, thank you so much. By the way,
Steve,
brink of war, I'm extremely concerned about this India versus Pakistan thing spilling out onto the streets of Britain, because we are now, because of our multicultural society, we do have ethnic and racial tensions in a way that we didn't have before, Alistair.
Well, it happened at the cricket, didn't it, with Leicester, and that was just about cricket. This is a far more serious event, but there was a big fight between Hindus and other Indians and Muslims in Leicester because of a cricket match. So, you know.
How many of you guys have seen Bollywood films?
None.
I remember them back in the 80s. Yeah, there was a video shot by me. I used to.
So if you go and watch a Bollywood film now, pretty much every Bollywood film I've seen is about India and Pakistan going to war and fighting. And the last Bollywood
how many did you watch? Did you watch them a lot?
I've watched quite a few.
Do you like Bollywood films?
I quite like them.
What, 15 costume changes in one fight scene?
It is literally that, and the fight scenes are ridiculous. The whole film is ridiculous. But every film I saw, probably about 6 months ago, was actually about Pakistan shooting down Indian jets.
Wow.
Which actually...
how do you do a costume change when it's an Indian jet?
Well, this could spill out, couldn't it? Because there were some Indian jets shot down, and it was because of Chinese missiles that have been given to Pakistan. So this could, you know, with the geopolitics, this can spread. And also, they're both nuclear powers.
Yeah, it's really worrying, and this is sort of, I don't want to scaremonger or anything, but it raises concerns of sort of World War III to me, where you've got all these different factions of fighting.
That is scaremongering.
Yeah, OK, well...
hey, wait, 2 seconds, sorry.
That's your second one.
Yeah.
OK, so we are taking your calls, 03444991000. Should we keep Steve in Warsaw until after the break? Yeah, well, we'll bring him back. We'll bring him back after the news. Councillor Alistair Chambers is staying with us until 1 o'clock. Also, I've got to say, we have a caller who has just become a Reformed councillor. If you want to call in, you don't have to say which ward you are, because I know a lot of the new Reformed councillors have not been trained, but it'd be really interesting to hear how your first week of office has gone. You don't have to speak for the party or answer any difficult questions. We'd just be quite interested in that. Also, you can follow me on YouTube. Just search Andre Walker at Virtual Act.
At Andre JP Walker, and maybe we'll even get Dr. Roger Gould on.
Who knows?
Watch this space.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and our guest co-host this evening is Councillor Alistair Chambers, newly re-elected to Gloucestershire County Council. Well done, there we go.
How long is it for, the term, then? No.
I've got 3 years left at City, and I've got 4 years left at County.
Nice.
Now, are we going to talk about any promotions at the City yet? No, I don't think we will.
No.
No, we won't. We won't. We won't. Okay.
Do I need to get a new hat?
Yeah, probably. Okay, so we're going to take some calls, but first of all, we're going to talk to, and he's been pestering us via text all evening. It's Dr. Roger Gould. Roger, what are you up to? He's a former advisor at the Bank of
He
England.
looks like he's in a talkTV studio.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
Look at that. What is that, Roger?
That's just Roger.
Just me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what he looks like.
Roger.
What's that?
Roger,
Where have you gone?
What have you come on to talk about tonight, Roger?
I had this morning on my show a 17-year-old girl.
Interesting. And what's your show
Was
about,
this for
Roger?
a BBC show?
No, this is my own show, The Gospel According to Dr. Roger.
Yeah,
Right.
And I've had all sorts of guests, Mike Graham, all kinds of people, Alex Phillips, all kinds of people. But I also have a lot of young people come on.
Somehow, because
I've been on it, haven't I, Roger?
And you've been on.
Has it been on yet?
You've been on it, yeah.
All right, I'll watch that. Yeah,
You
it'd be
are,
good.
the episode is coming out this week or next week. You're absolutely right.
Ooh, look out for that.
Morning, This morning I had this 17-year-old young lady, and she told us a story that in her school, she declined to call the substitute teacher, who was obviously female, him.
Yes.
And instead kept calling the substitute teacher her, referring to her as her.
Yeah.
And the substitute teacher apparently became very upset, and as punishment refused to let this girl go to the toilet and use the female loo.
Wow.
Oh, to kind of prove that gender's all in your mind.
Because she had misgendered her, is how it was explained, and apparently, from what we've been able to gather, the officials in the school stood by the teacher in letting him, her, it do that.
Well, no, I've got to be honest with you. I think Roger is right on a number of things, but one of the things I think is right, the English language says if you are neither male or female, you're an it. So if Sam Smith is not a they, it's an it, right? No, I'm not saying that as an insult.
Just for factual.
Male is he, female is she, and non-gender specific is it. So I'm happy to say that Sam Smith thinks it's neither male nor female, but it's not they.
So the reason I was laughing so much, I was imagining a male, female logo, and then the it on the toilet door. It.
Yeah, that's right.
My guest said that this substitute teacher was clearly a lady, was clearly a woman. I mean, there was no doubt about how this person looked.
I mean, that's the interesting thing, Alistair, because we've talked about Leah Thomas, the aforementioned 6'4" swimmer from the University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I've made this point before. We talk about, is a trans woman really a woman? In the case of Leah Thomas, is this person genuinely trans? Because all he's done is grown his hair long and called himself Leah, and that qualified him to swim in a female competition. Also, I mean, fairly obviously, and I don't make this a facetious comment, I've never been in a female swimming changing rooms, but because the suits are incredibly fitted to make them faster. Apparently, they really have to shimmy into them. And I mean, it's not like us lads just pulling your pants up. It's going to be really embarrassing to have some bloke in the changing room.
I think it's
Yeah,
frightening.
well,
There's children.
Sorry,
there,
Roger. Alistair first.
Sorry, Roger. Sorry, that's number 3. No, I think it's really disturbing to have a male in a female changing rooms. There's children there. There's you got your crash, you got your cots. There should be no man, regardless of how long his hair is, regardless of if he calls himself Trisha, to be in any female changing room.
Even if he's fully operated, and I don't think there should.
And the way
be.
you got to look at it is if he's upset, how many women in there are upset?
Yes.
Yeah?
That's absolutely right.
That's the way you've got to look at it.
Well, they're saying that they'll be, they'll have trouble in them if they go in the men's. Well, but then they're going in and causing trouble in the women's. You know what I mean? It's sort of a double standard, isn't it?
I'm starting to think, actually, Roger, and I don't know what your view... Well, no, I'm not starting to think. I know that my view on this is if you have had gender reassignment surgery, then I'm all right with it. If you go in with what appears to be a vagina and breasts into a female changing room, I'm all right with that. I mean, obviously, I think it's just, and I'm going to be blunt and I'm going to be provocative. It's if you get your schlong out in front of the 9-year-old girl.
I don't think that is provocative. That's sort of, I suppose.
It's true, though, isn't it?
I find the whole thing very confusing, but I think that this story of this girl, I mean, forget the misgendering side. Yes. It's that a person who was only a substitute teacher, I mean, not even part of the establishment, really, I feel, had no right whatsoever to punish somebody by not allowing them to relieve themselves.
It's a human right to relieve. You can't. It's a medical problem.
What is she supposed to do? Pee on the floor?
Well, exactly. That's what she should do in protest. You've told me I can't.
Humiliation punishment.
Then she'll be punished for that.
A dirty protest.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you said to me, well, you can't go into the male toilet, I'd piss on the door. I'd openly do it. I'd say, well, if you don't, I should have said pee there, but you see my point. Well, okay, well, in that case, I'll urinate on the floor then, the girl should have said.
I'm surprised you didn't say I'd pee on you.
Well, I mean that would be some sort of an attack.
That's another story.
But Alistair.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a terrible story. It shocked everybody on our show. It's just so unbelievable that
but is this still going on?
As punishment.
But Roger, let's talk about dates. Not you and me. Let's talk about dates. Did this happen before or after the Supreme Court ruling? Do we know?
Before, but I don't think it made a difference. Why? How would it make a difference?
Well, one would hope it would make a difference. I'm just interested. Had it been after, then it would be clear that Lloyd's Bank had successfully led a campaign to completely ignore the law.
Although it was clarified, they'd been ignoring the law anyway. They just got it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the way because Roger is in the banking establishment. When I just did that little teaser on Lloyd's Bank, did you see? He didn't grab. His little mouth didn't go for it.
I didn't take the bait because it's more serious than there are a number of institutions in the city that have unisex bathrooms now, and that's a little different. Men and women both go in there and use them, and the only separation is the cubicles that have toilets in them. And I just find it absolutely horrendous. I don't know how the women stand it, frankly.
No, absolutely.
And it's very uncomfortable for men as well.
So actually, you had one final question.
Oh yeah, what do you think? Because you're an economist of note, Roger. What do you think about this tariff deal? Apparently, we've been shafted by you lot, the Americans.
I don't think so. I think it's a pretty good deal. I mean, the tariffs have come off on various things, steel, etc.
But do America buy any steel off it? We don't really make much steel. They're not going to buy any of our steel.
It's the principle that counts, and I mean, you could say the same thing about cars.
Isn't it the pound, shillings, and pence that counts?
You could say the same thing about cars, Ash. British people go, oh well, our tariffs on your cars don't matter because nobody wants your American cars anyway because they're all gas guzzlers. But you want our cars because they're wonderful, Range Rovers and Jaguars and Rolls Royces.
Well, they're India's and Germany's cars.
No, they're not.
We make them.
It's important to understand we're talking about stuff manufactured in the UK rather than who owns the company.
Yeah.
But they make
So-
BMWs and stuff in America. Apparently, if you buy an American BMW, they're not as well made because they're made by people in America rather than Austrians. If you get a European one,
or Mexico, I think.
yeah,
isn't it?
Mexico. So you want one built by Austrians, wouldn't you, rather than?
Okay, Roger, thank you so much. And by the way, thank you so much for messaging in. I'll tell you what we'll do. I know it's a bit early, but let's go for an early break because then we've got loads and loads and loads of calls. We'll hit all your calls. We'll get through them. I promise you. 0344 499 1000. Back with me, Asher Gould, and Alistair Chambers straight after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, yeah, so let's answer that question. We've got a full switchboard, which means we've got 10 lines into the studio, so we've got to start answering them, otherwise people can't get through. So let's go straight to, pick one out.
Amanda in East Sussex.
Amanda in East Sussex. Go for it.
Hi guys.
Morning.
How are you?
Morning. We're all right, man.
Yeah, I'm actually not in East Sussex anymore. I moved to Rome in Italy last November to get away from the
Oh,
UK.
wow, so how's today been?
Yeah, I didn't actually go down to St Peter's Square. I went to see the body of the Pope when he was lying
You didn't
in
get a
state.
selfie with it, did you? Like everyone was taking.
Oh, no.
No.
They were all getting
no,
selfies with it.
That's brutal.
I know. I never saw anyone doing that, but that was really disrespectful, to be honest. So, no, I didn't do that. I went round twice to see him because the first time around I was on the wrong side of the crowd, and then the second time I was right next to where his coffin was.
You were on the wrong side of the crowd. Explain. I'm trying to visualise that.
Well, as you walk into St Peter's Square, you're either on the right side or the left side, obviously. And on the left side is where everybody was gathered around his coffin, you know, sitting on chairs either side, all the VIP people,
right,
and the Swiss guards standing either side of the coffin to protect him.
So people in the know go on the left side.
Yeah.
So you'll know for next time.
Well, I went round twice on the same day, so I could get back on the right.
How long
side
did it take? Was it like with Her Majesty the Queen, where it took like 24 hours or something?
No. The day I chose was really good, actually. It was a Thursday, and the crowds were quite, you know, the time of the day that I went, I just hit it at the right time, and I only had to line up for about 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
Wow. And did Italian celebrities like get a preferential treatment, like Philip Schofield and what's her name?
Holly Willoughby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. The Italian version of those, yeah. But I
Well,
never
then, mind
saw
you, if you're
anyone
only cutting a
being
queue of
ushered
50,
in.
if you're only cutting a queue of 15 minutes, do you know what somebody said to me? Conspiracy theory for you. There are no pictures of David Beckham from the south side of the river in the queue. No photos of him.
I thought there was. That's where he was standing.
No. There were photos when he got to the north side of the river. There are no photos of him on the south side of the river.
But that was a wonder stroke with Beckham doing that, because it was just after Philip and Schofield had got done, so he thought, oh no, I'll go and wait properly and get a good photo up and look at a man of the people, try and get me knighthood.
He's desperate for that knighthood, isn't he?
He loves it.
He's absolutely desperate. He's desperate.
So, Amanda, we've always said you're in East Sussex because that's what comes up, but all this time you've been in Roma.
Well, since last November. I've only.
Well, can we change it now to Rome, Italy? How do we do that?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please do. Yeah,
because actually, because look, this show is broadcast internationally on YouTube. Obviously, it's broadcast on all the streaming channels as well, and indeed on national radio. But I think it's good to have some international callers just to prove we're an international show.
Why did you go to Rome? Is it because of the state of this country?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I was calling this evening, because I don't know if you guys have heard, this only just dropped in the last couple of hours, but do you remember, and this is one of the main reasons I left, because I'm Catholic, right, which is one of the reasons I moved to Rome. I'm not like super ultra religious or like super strict with my faith, but I do feel that in the UK we're losing our Christian values because of the amount of Muslims that have moved to the country. And it really
I disagree with that, and I think any Muslim that was watching this show would have every good right to object as well. We are losing our culture deliberately. The fact that uncontrolled immigration is happening at the same time, I think is neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's just because people have ditched Christianity, although numbers are up since Easter, apparently.
And also, can I just say one, Amanda? Can I just say one other thing? I would really love to remind people that just because Muslims stand by their culture doesn't mean that they are responsible for us not standing by ours.
I think, in fact, it's had the opposite effect, hasn't it? That's why people are going to church, because they're going, our national religion's Christianity, let's start going back to church.
Yeah, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But today, something happened just recently that really disturbed me, sort of tying into this.
Yeah.
And it's to do with, it's announced by the Free Speech Union, which obviously you guys know.
Yeah.
But do you remember the guy that burned the Quran not so long ago?
I do.
Yeah, he's been charged. They've brought in a new offence, being nasty to Islam or something.
They've actually made up a ridiculous charge called harassing the religious institution of Islam. Yeah. They've actually made it up.
It's a blasphemy law by another name.
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My problem, Alistair, the only reason for burning a Quran is if burning a Quran is illegal. That would be the only argument for doing it, because I have to say, the idea that you're going to grossly offend your neighbour is not something that I believe, and that's me talking, I believe you should do. But I will tell you, if they bring in Islamic blasphemy laws in this country, but they're doing it, then we should rigorously oppose it.
So my understanding with that is, so there's a law that specifically identifies the burning of the Quran as being illegal. What happens if you burn the Bible?
It's perfectly legal.
This is what I hate. One rule for one and one.
But the big worrying thing they're not talking about, the guy ran out with a knife and started slashing at the bloke. That's the big story. What's happened to him? And not only that, one of these delivery drivers saw what was going on, and rather than help the bloke getting attacked by the knife, he tripped the guy up so that the knife man could get access to him, and then booted the guy in the head. So it's not a small minority. If you go around and there's people in the street that think you should be killed for doing that sort of thing, and he was actually helping the knife man. So what's happened to that guy with the knife and the guy that tripped him up in order the knife man could get to him?
It's an incredibly dangerous situation. Amanda in Rome, thank you so much. Kevin in Hull, you are on Talk.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Petre.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Well, we're not Petri for a start, so here we go.
Yeah, I know you're not. It was just a joke. It was just a joke.
Just a joke. Just a joke.
I like it.
It's like educating Yorkshire, isn't it?
Yeah, hey, bar gum, can you belly touch your bum?
Yes.
So what's on your mind, Kev?
Lots of things. It's been VE Day today, new Pope, new.
You sound like. Can I tell you something, Kevin? You sound like Rowley Burke in QC. Do you remember him? I expect like a giant spiders cutting across the floor. Very, very drunk at the time. That's what you sound like.
Andre, my phone's broken, the screen's cracked. You're very sharp, so I'll just take it easy on me.
All right, I'm sorry.
Sorry, man.
All right. So all I was asking is, you answer questions and whatnot. Is there anything used to that have not come up on the programme you'd really like to talk about?
Yes. I would like to talk about the difference between transubstantiation and consubstantiation in theological theory.
Yes. Is that indirect or direct?
Well, it depends which way you mean, but I mean, I would say that that consubstantiation is a fallacy because of its indirectness.
Kevin?
I do agree on that one.
Do you? Are you Catholic?
Well, that's no good.
There we go. Now, come on, Alistair, you are a Catholic. Do you know the difference between transubstantiation and consubstantiation?
No.
Isn't that when your house is tilting to the side?
That means officially you're not a Catholic.
Isn't it to do with the communion and the bread?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You saved yourself there.
So one thinks the bread.
One thinks
the Protestant thinks it's just the bread, but Catholic thinks it's the true body of Christ.
Body of Christ, yeah.
There you go. I was just pulling your leg.
I'll tell you what I would like.
Hey, I wanted to make Kevin feel a bit better.
I'll tell you, Kevin, what I would love to do, right? We're talking about the Catholic Church today, and we're talking about the Pope is the most famous religious position in the Catholic Church, but the second most famous religious position was abolished by Pope John Paul II, the devil's advocate. Right, I would love, if I could have any job in the world, I would walk away from talk, I'd walk away from everything, I would move to Rome, become the devil's advocate. And just to explain what the office of the devil's advocate does, when the Pope decides he wants to make somebody a Pope, like, say, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, you are the person that makes the case that she's awful and should not be made a Pope, and not be made a
well, she couldn't have been Pope anyway, could she? Yeah.
No, so the case, so they go, Saint Bob of Gloucester, he healed the sick. He was awful, dreadful man. he was rude, he was obnoxious. But that job, that would be, and I think the producers would agree with this, the office of the devil's advocate.
I'd be your second in command.
Oh, it'd be a great job. I mean, I love one of my favourite.
Virgin Mary once said, "Come again."
No.
But there is a little bit of the process. I don't know if they've done it yet, but because there was a female pope called Pope Joan once, there's a part of the investiture of the pope that he has to go and sit in a sort of chair like a commode, and there's a trapdoor, and a hand comes out and tests the papal plums to just check that he is a man. They deny it, but this is actually a fact.
But you watch. I mean, we were watching it the other day, Alistair, weren't we? If the late Christopher Hitchens documentary on Mother Teresa of Calcutta called Hell's Angel.
Oh, he hated her, didn't he? He really hated her.
But can I tell you, Christopher Hitchens was the devil's advocate for Mother Teresa of Calcutta's sainthood. Brilliant. What a great job. Anyway, Kevin, what other questions would I like to ask? Yeah, do you eat parmos in Hull?
What's that?
I don't even know what they are, young man.
What's a parmo?
I think a parmo is when you beat a piece of chicken flat, put it in breadcrumbs like a schnitzel, and then serve bechamel sauce on top.
Well, it's a schnitzel, isn't it? It's just a schnitzel.
No,
do you know the House Martins?
Is this chlorinated chicken or not?
No.
Well, it will be.
Hormone induced.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you so much.
Cheers,
Let's
Kevin.
go to Grace in London. Grace, you're on talk.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to really concur with your point that it's not because of Islam that Christianity is in decline. I was saying this to a friend earlier. I say this all the time to people because people seem to think that somehow Islam is killing Christianity. No, the native white British population, as in I'm a native white British person myself, we have mostly abandoned Christianity, and at the same time...
Why?
And the leaders, I mean, the Archbishop of Canterbury, they all sort of are causing the problems, aren't they? Because they're not sticking up for their religion. And the king.
Well, I don't think we should really rely on them to do it. But you could ask them if you got to meet them personally. I guess
We're talking, Grace, by the way, we were talking about Christopher Hitchin. He said the reason that we've abandoned Christianity, now to be fair, he's Jewish, so he's not necessarily the greatest expert, but he said...
But he only found out when his mother's deathbed that he was Jewish.
True, but he said the reason that we've given up Christianity was because all of the Christians in the world supported the First World War, and it was such an obscenity that people just gave up on Christianity afterwards. I don't know if that's true. I'm not an expert.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't an expert in Christopher Hitchens, but I remember hearing his brother say, and it sounds like a really harsh comment, so I don't know if I should even be repeating it.
Well, if repeated it.
Peter Hitchens claimed in at least one comment, maybe he hasn't always had this view, but he claimed that his brother was really, really anti-God because his brother wanted to do whatever he felt like sexually, and so it was better for him to think that there was no person who had any kind of rules that would impinge on him doing that.
Alistair, that is a serious point, whether it's reference to Christopher Hitchens, who once said, and this is a genius line, when I discovered my penis would give me no peace, I decided to give it no rest, which I think is a genius line. But do you think a lot of people, the reason that we've walked away from God is because they've basically just gone, oh, screw it, I just want to do whatever I want, and the religious fraternity stop me?
I think it's that, and also science. I think people are in more sort of developed
Enlightenment.
worlds,
The Enlightenment.
of finding answers where before religion gave those answers, and now they've got science to give those answers, and it's kind of drawn people away from the religion.
Grace, you disagree?
No, I came to believe that God exists because of science. It was while I was studying science and the biochemical processes involved in certain cellular functions that I came to think, actually, though I don't feel spiritual at all, I can see that it makes sense that a designer exists. And the more you study various aspects of biochemistry and also various parameters necessary with regard to the universe for life to be here, you can see that it's necessary there's a designer. It couldn't have all come about purely by chance because there's too much interdependence and too much specificity that's required. So actually science indicates that there probably
Well, Richard Dawkins disagrees with you.
Yeah, but Richard Dawkins is disagreed with by many other scientists, including some atheists. And he has himself has said that the fine-tuning argument is good. So
but they can never explain the Big Bang, can they? They can never explain.
No, I'm not criticising the Big Bang. The Big Bang is.
Well, I am, because how could they just go, oh, the world started with the Big Bang? Well, what happened before that? You know, it just doesn't make sense.
God created time, and the Big Bang happened. So far as I'm concerned, it's different ways of describing the same thing. Science and belief in God are not in conflict with each other. They're just different ways of looking at what exists and understanding what exists. But some people, as I suppose the comment indicated, some people have mistakenly thought that science has disproven God. But in fact, there are plenty of people who are Christians and scientists at the same time.
Well, that's true.
And there are some Christians who have really, gone into science or healthcare because they really want to better understand what God has created. And people like Isaac Newton, have done amazing things in science and very much believed in God.
Charles Darwin, the founder of evolution, he was a very God-fearing man.
I understand that he was kind of despairing because of the loss of his daughter, and that made him feel very confused about what he believed. But ultimately, it's a mistake to think that there's a conflict between God and science. I think people in our culture have, over the course of the last, century, turned away from God, partly because, and this is the point I was trying to make with regard to Christopher Hitchens. I wasn't trying to criticise Christopher Hitchens' sex life or anything. I was trying to make the point that I think the reason people have turned away from God is probably that some people would rather feel that there is no one who has a set of guidelines. But
it is interesting about Christopher Hitchens. This isn't the God channel, but it's quite interesting. Can't believe Ken's not phoned up. It's quite interesting the way that Christopher Hitchens did promote the Pray for Christopher Hitchens Day, right, where there's literally no evidence anyone talked about it other than him, right? So he was going, lots of Christians are having a Pray for Christopher Hitchens Day. And you go, are they? Or was that just you talking about it? Because, of course, he died of cancer, very tragically. OK, Grace, thank you so much. I reckon we go to a break now, and then we go to Andrew, who's in Barry in Wales.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh my God!
Garson.
The sheer professionalism, of literally pouring Alistair a glass of water whilst just being in front of the camera.
Yeah, it was very nicely done.
Okay, I think what we need to do is just keep going to the calls. Okay, we've gone through a few calls, so we've now got 4 slots available. 0344 499 1000. That means if you call now, you're highly likely to get through. People keep telling me that Palmos are from Newcastle. From Middlesbrough. Why, man? That's Newcastle as well. So I've just made that worse. Okay, let's go to Andrew in Barry.
Andrew in Barry, but Barry's given consent. Hi, Andrew.
Hi. I do just want to say to Ash, I love you and James.
James Wales is back tomorrow night from 10 p.m.
I'm 57 on Saturday night, so
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy that. Anyway.
Well, we're on tomorrow night, not Saturday night, so tomorrow night from 10.
I'm on night.
Well, it's tonight, actually, now.
Yeah, well, it's not so bad. I'm a 3L service, you know.
No. You can watch on YouTube.
I'll tell you what's always weird. So I'm sure we're going to start coming back doing every single day or whatever, or certainly the weekends. But it's weird leaving work and saying, see you later today. That is strange.
Yeah, it's something like that, yeah.
No, that is what happens.
Yeah, I'm doing 2 shows today.
Well, I forget where those ponds are in London, in England, where they had the
Hampstead ponds, yeah, the Hampstead women's pond, men's pond, and there's a mixed pond.
When they let the girls in, right, okay.
The man's pond.
Yeah. So what I was thinking of, my joke basically was, but I can't do it properly now, was they should be called transponders as opposed to a transponder.
Transponders.
I like it, yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. There should be a transponder.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say political, lads. Thank you very much.
Sorry. No, stop. You've literally phoned me up to tell a joke that would be unworthy of a Christmas cracker.
Oh, no!
Somebody in a transpond should be called a transponder.
You must have some other jokes. Have you got any more material?
They won't let the transponders into the one pool.
Can you make a Pope joke?
I've got a joke, but it won't come across on the radio. What's this?
I have no idea.
So I'm biting my hands one after the other. Jesus biting his nails.
Oh,
no. Blasphemy.
Okay. I'm not religious at all. I won't get into those conflict things. I just wanted to be slightly funny. Probably, you know.
You were funny. You entertained me. Did you entertain?
I was very
Did he entertain you, Alistair?
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah, go on. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. But Andrew, let's just hear about you. What do you do in Barry? Do you work now?
Yeah, I work in the local hospital.
Oh yeah, the NHS. And what are you, a porter or a nurse?
Yes,
or what?
You got that right, I'm a porter. Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah. So how's it going down the NHS? What's going on there?
Oh, I've had it's a Wales thing.
They're doing this decade. They've decided to clean the hospital. You know, they only do it once every decade.
We got new girls from the other hospitals that come down there, but they're more like
so you've recruited a girl from a hospital that they regularly clean
to do the
and
cleaning.
She's well up for it.
No, they're great. They're all fun. Yeah, we all work together. It's not like the old.
What do you think?
Dance routines.
What do you think about this whole idea of this bring back matron? You know, the Hattie Jakes type.
Yeah, that's good. No, it's good because it's
someone who's in charge. Someone who's
a big lady who's a bit violent and tasty.
No. Back in the day, when I started work, and I was 21, I worked in Barry all my life. When I was 21, when I started it was like the nurses used to say, "Go and get a paper, do this for me, do that for me." You know, it was like quite bullying. But as you get older, you sort of get into the sort of team. But it was really old school. It's not the same anymore. They've got people doing this, doing that. Everyone.
Have you noticed there's unqualified people from other countries who have faked their qualifications? Do you notice things like that?
Do you know any stories about that?
No.
No. I mean, my hospital is brilliant.
He's covering up for them.
Full of women, looking after everyone. It's fully multinational. What I am, you know what I mean? It's the hospitals. There's none of this stuff about stuff. Everyone works together and.
That's good. That's positive.
I worry very gravely about. So first of all, you know, there's no problem bringing in the best medical professionals, but I worry that we are raiding the world and emptying, particularly, you know, doctors from India and that sort of thing. I think care work is of less of a concern, but you know, going around the world and removing all their doctors to put them in the NHS, we have a
no, it's removing talent when we should be improving the talent in this country.
That's a good point.
People can speak English, but you need to understand the nuances and the way you pronounce English words, because a lot of medical people will say things to you in the wrong way of it's not just about speaking English, it's phrasing it. Do you know what I mean? So you can hear in the tone of voice what they mean.
I think what Andrew said then, though, was important.
Sorry, Andrew, let Alistair finish. Sorry, let Alistair finish.
Andrew, what you said there was really, really important. We should be looking at removing talent from other countries. We should be looking at improving talent here in our country. That's a really, really valid point.
But Alistair, let me have a go at you about that, because what we're doing is we're forcing doctors in the UK or medical professionals in the UK to train for 8 years, and then we're allowing people who've trained for 3 or 4 years from abroad to come in. Absolutely. And so the problem comes, we are deliberately, as a result of a trade union agreement with the BMA, making it very, very hard for British people to become doctors, and then saying, well, the solution to that is have barely qualified people in from abroad.
And not pay national insurance and not pay employers NI.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And I don't know if the NHS is covered by that, but it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of them, you're hearing stories that they are faking and getting fake documents and qualifications.
Come on, Andrew, you must have met a faker.
Oh, yeah, loads of fakers over the years. There's different things. I only have one thing to say. I think, because I don't want to get things, because I had a bit adverse experience. The joke I had goes a lot deeper with that. I don't, you know.
So you've met a lot of fakers, fake doctors or fake nurses in your...
No, we don't get that. We did do... No, most of the doctors, I'm more worried about... randoms, random people, like... not respecting hospitals how they used to be.
Yeah, I've got to say.
You come into a hospital or a doctor's place or something like that, right? All we're there to do is like.
We should change, Andrew. We should change the rules as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what you think, Alistair. Thank you so much, Andrew. By the way, I don't know what you think, but when they say we are obliged to treat everyone, I think if somebody calls you the N-word and you're a nurse, you have every right to throw them out and let them die in the street.
Yeah, you should withdraw treatment if you... But then again, you've got to remember there's a lot of people with mental health issues.
Well, I suppose that's right.
And they're coming in and they're effing and blinding.
But that woman now should win her case, because it's been proven that she was correct. You know, a man can't be a woman, and that's...
That's the one where she called a paedophile a man, and he said, I self-define as a woman, and she got suspended.
Because she's religious, and in her right, she has the right to her religious beliefs, which turned out the Supreme Court says are correct. Well, we all knew it was anyway.
That's good.
Thanks, Andrew.
Bit of righteousness for once.
All right, Isaac in Devon. Isaac, you're on talk.
He's a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I was a Spurs fan. Well, I'm a Spurs fan, but they won.
By the way, just to explain, the database is the same database for Talk Radio and Talk Sport. So it comes up as Isaac is a Spurs fan.
We build up a dossier of you.
The next caller, Alan, supports Arsenal.
Well, you don't pick up. That's what I'm going to say. Just don't pick up.
Let's put Alan on with Isaac. Yeah, we have a local derby and find out who's the better caller, Arsenal, Spurs. Alan, are you there, Alan?
I'm here.
Alan in Heathrow, say hello to Isaac, the Spurs fan. Alan, the Arsenal fan. Take it away. Let's see who's best.
Hello, Isaac. Well done on your win tonight. We got knocked out last night, so we're better. We've had a better season than they have, and they can't say nothing about it because we're final.
We sound the same person.
At least I was being polite. I congratulated you on your win. Oh, I didn't hear that. I apologise. You actually played half.
Well, this is interesting.
For like the first 35 minutes.
Alistair,
yeah, but what do you think about PSG fans celebrating by smashing up their own place? Big riots after.
French for you, isn't it? You know, if it wasn't for us and the Americans.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
Speaking German.
They've got the same voice. This is Talk Sport.
This has become very confused.
Hey, morning!
Isaac, why don't you make your point, and then we'll let Alan respond to it. Right, go on.
Yeah, national radio.
This is what I was going to say about the hospital thing. It was about this. We're bringing people over a 4 year qualification or 3.5 year qualification to join our hospital as a fully fledged doctor. We're training people up for 8 years, and then they're going to Australia to make big money because that's where all the money is getting made, or America. So we're training people up on the taxpayers' dime for them to move away, and then we're bringing over a 3 year fledged kind of like person within 8 Asian degree in hospitality, in hospital trade, which is probably as good as they can do over there. And they're coming over here and making money. So why are we training people up on the taxpayers' time here?
We're not making enough. We're not training enough doctors. We should be training a lot more of our own. And she cut it back to Theresa May, and it's not been restored.
We could have a contract system where
hang on a second, Alistair.
They could have a contract system where they've got to remain in the NHS.
Well, we do that. We do that with military. If you join the army and they send you to university, you have to stay in the army for a certain period of time.
Should be no difference with the NHS, and then you don't have that.
10 years you have to stay. Yeah.
Okay. So, Alan, do you want to respond to Isaac's point?
I can understand what he's saying, but you can understand why people are going to Australia. What is there in this country that would want to make them work in the health system that's actually getting beat? It's not a national.
You get paid more in Australia as well. You get paid like double.
Alan, just to be clear, when you say you're at Heathrow, are you literally departing the country as we speak, like in the terminal?
No, I live in West Drayton, which is overrun. All the hotels around where I live are all full of migrants. And
because they come to Heathrow Airport.
And West Drayton High Street is 1,000 yards long, and we've got 12 barber shops.
Wow.
I think Australia actually has more immigrants than the UK.
It wouldn't surprise me.
In Devon, you can't get a holiday hotel here in Devon.
But you can get a haircut.
I mean, that is the bizarre thing.
You can get a very bad haircut.
That is the bizarre thing that Isaac would have more of a problem with than Alan, because the reality is the destruction of our tourism industry by these migrant hotels. I mean, when I went to the Daresbury Park Hotel in Runcorn, now, OK, it's Runcorn, but this is on the middle of a trading estate, the middle of an industrial estate, which now looks like a desert economically, because there's no conference centre, there's no spa, there's no hotel.
No local hub for your Sunday roast or business meetings.
Absolutely right. No. Datchet had a nice little hotel.
I don't mean to sound racist.
I really live in Datchet. It's beautiful.
I'm not going to
absolutely beautiful.
National radio, but I don't mean to sound racist. But these people coming across the boats that are mainly from an Asian heritage are not the ones going to the pub, the local pub, getting a Sunday roast, going out, having a drink on a Wednesday night. These people are not doing that, so they're not putting into the economy.
I'll tell you something. So let's
paying them to do it.
Alan, let's go to you first, but I want to talk to everyone about that, because to put Isaac down for a second, just so we're really clear. Alan, I want to ask you this question, and it's a point about culture. So my argument is that Isaac is completely right. We need to bring people to this country who want to engage with the culture of this country.
Right, exactly.
I worry that Keir Starmer is deliberately shutting down the infrastructure of Britain. His attack on the pubs is crazy bad.
Well, he banned smoking. They banned talking now. You can't say certain things. They tried to ban outdoor smoking. Sorry, yeah, go on. Just want to slip those in.
There's no infrastructure. No. We can't accommodate all these people. There's not enough doctors, not enough hospitals, not enough prisons,
not enough housing. We haven't got the housing for our own people.
And then we're just getting the 15 million. But I
mean, Alan, the point I mean is the infrastructure of British cultural life. Right, let's get rid of the churches. Let's get rid of the scout troops. Let's get rid of the Girl Guides. Let's get rid of the pubs. Let's get rid of
Christmas.
Yeah,
let's get rid
of our history and ruin all our heroes. Let's bring down the foundations of our society.
Everybody was told if you wanted to repel the ULEZ, the ultra ULEZ, we all have to go out and vote. No one voted for the mayoral elections. That's why he walked into a third term.
So that changed at the council elections, didn't it?
Ourselves.
I mean, I've got to say to you, if you were talking about people who believed in this idea of the settler, so what I said earlier was this. I said, look, an immigrant...
Settlers, they've just arrested 8 of them, asylum.
Well, yeah, an immigrant, a settler, and an expat are the same thing, right? They're all the same thing. So if you were to say that what we've decided is that India has decided to settle Birmingham, then people would go, oh my God, that's absolutely terrible. But it's exactly the same thing.
It's the same in Southall. They're all walking about, fair enough, each one to their culture, but at least try and, it's like what Julia Hartley-Brewer says, you go to the doctors and there's a chart and there's like 8 different languages on there, and if they can't speak it, they get an interpreter. Who pays for that? We do.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Of course it is.
Yeah, the thing is, though, a comment earlier.
Thank you so much, Alan. Sorry,
with small boats being racist, it's not about race. A lot of people are coming over from Serbia.
Yeah.
There's a criminal gang from Albania that came over recently.
Yeah.
They said the reason he got granted asylum in the UK was because he said he was wanted for murder, and if he went back, he was going to be killed.
Correct. Yeah. OK, Isaac, I just want you to respond to that culture point from Alan, then we're going to go to the break.
Yeah. How can you respect British culture when Keir Starmer stands up? He doesn't care about a single English person, apart from this week when he loses massively on local elections. But 1 year ago, he went to Southport, he spent 2 minutes laying on the roof and ran away back to a barbecue and fucking...
And he called the protest far right, and that's been shown that was a lie. And also he prejudiced court cases by saying we're going to arrest, charge and convict the people. And if that didn't prejudice the cases, as we saw with the results, it even prejudiced the defence lawyers to give crap advice that ended up with people getting 3 years in prison for selling hurty words.
And that's coming from a barrister.
Yeah, this is from the former head of the law.
Yeah.
How can British people respect Britain if the Prime Minister doesn't care about what happens?
That's a score draw, I think, between Spurs and Arsenal.
Thank you so much.
The protest with the local elections. The protests have been heard.
I've got to be totally honest with you. Keir Starmer literally turns around and Keir Starmer is literally a citizen of the world. He doesn't believe in borders. He doesn't believe in national pride. He doesn't believe in Britain. And I'm sorry, this show has been pretty firm. We've both been pretty firm on this. I imagine Alistair the same. There is a public policy in this country to ensure the infrastructure of Britain, the cultural infrastructure of Britain, is destroyed. Decent schools destroyed, scout troops destroyed, girl guides destroyed, church groups destroyed, pubs destroyed. They want to create a bland multicultural soup, and they are succeeding. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, let's go straight to Neil in County Antrim. Neil, you are on Talk.
Oh, good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Morning.
Good morning, even now. It's right now. It's in the morning.
Morning, man. Yeah, it's morning.
Hi, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
What?
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Good to hear from you. Just a lonely man on your own.
That's all right, man. So what's going on tonight, Neil? What's going on in Ireland? I see loads of stories about Ireland and how it's all changing around there.
It's better for tourism. The peace process is doing well. the police are being left alone and the army and the prison guards.
Well, is the peace? I mean, this is actually bringing Protestants and Catholics together, isn't it? This all this immigration.
Well, there's integrated schools being built everywhere where I live, and it's good for the people, because at the end of the day, we're all much the same, with my eyes. Like.
I mean...
Can you translate that?
Yeah. So basically he's talking about schools being built locally. Right. But what's amazing was this stupidity when the Republic of Ireland said that Northern Ireland were expelling all their migrants to the Republic of Ireland. There's only one country on earth, well, probably two countries on earth that have been more ludicrous in their approach to immigration, Germany and the Republic of Ireland, than Britain. The Republic of Ireland have gone completely mad. They attempted to empty Ukraine.
I know, I heard it all about it, sir. I've been all around the South of Ireland years ago with the 90s. I know all about it, but mostly be up to the 620s where we live.
What's he saying?
He's saying that he saw it all a while ago.
In the 90s was all around the South of Ireland. It's all changed now, like with migrants, and there's no room for them all, unfortunately, and most of them have genuine circumstances.
Sorry, with that
reform option in Ireland.
Yeah, there is the Irish Freedom Party, and we regularly get them on. But it's amazing, isn't it? That issue, Neil, of tourism, and the fact that actually, I think the Freedom Party said 40% of hotel rooms in the Republic of Ireland are now occupied by migrants.
Wow.
In the whole country.
I didn't realise it was high that, sir. I think hotels that. I didn't realise it was just as high as that. I knew it would be high, but didn't say it was being such a high figure,
In every hotel. What was that?
He said he knew it was high in Ireland, but I didn't realise it was quite this high. But look, what do you see the situation with the European Union? Because I will tell you, I will say on behalf of Talk, the English, Welsh and Scottish let down the people of Northern Ireland because we believed, the Northern Irish are moaning again. But that Brexit deal was a disaster for the United Kingdom.
Yeah. I was, and my educated friends have told me out there too.
What?
He says yes. His friends have completely agree with me.
Educated friends told me the same as what you said, sir. I would agree with you. It was rushed too quicker, and
We genuinely believed that. Everyone's laughing because I can have a conversation with this bloke.
Well, because your mum was Irish, wasn't she?
My mum was from Belfast.
So he's translating.
But hang on a second.
From Belfast, Carrick Fergus.
What?
Carrick Fergus. Yeah, I've got to be honest.
I love it. He played for Arsenal.
Neil, have you been to the pub tonight?
No, I am drunk or I'm on medication because there's been a lot of things happening in my life. I'm on 13 different meds, but I'm nice and calm, just sitting on my own.
No, can I just be honest with you? It's just because you've got quite a strong Northern Irish accent and it's slightly affected. Some of our very, very English people are struggling to understand what you're saying.
No, I understood
Neil,
every word he said.
Thank you so much. Go on.
I've got Union Jack. My arm says Hawker. My name's Hawker.
What's he saying?
Union Jack Bulldog. I've a Union Jack Bulldog on my arm.
A Union Jack Bulldog?
Okay, he says he's got a Union Jack Bulldog called Hopper. Okay, thank you so much, Neil. Now let's go to Carl in Stansted. Hang on a second. Are you flying out of the country as well? New caller!
I come from Stansted Abbots.
Okay.
A little rural village in England.
Is it by the airport, is it?
Yeah.
I went there one morning. I dropped my girlfriend off at the time, and it's got this beautiful old woodland, down there, isn't it?
Yeah, but how far did she leave you, though? I mean, I'm not going to ask you any questions.
I've never seen her. I've never seen her since.
Yeah, but I wouldn't either. You've got nice long hair. You look like...
Well, no, it's been cut.
Yeah, I know now, because I've been watching you now for 2 years.
Well,
my inquiry is, all these religions and... But there's...
But one of them's got to be right. You've got to pick one. It's like a raffle, isn't it, religion? One of them's right, and you take your choice and see whether you end up in hell or heaven.
I'll put my money on Catholics.
Hang on a second. No, because can I just... Sorry, can I just say this to Asher? Your religion, Judaism, basically says that your individual tribe should worship God in the way that your tribe does, and therefore you don't get involved, do you? You say exactly. Jews should be Jews and Christians should be Christians.
You get your religion off your parents. It's allotted to you.
Yeah, it is really.
No, it's my C of E. It's my
But your parents were C of E, weren't they?
No, they're Buddhists.
My God's kingdom told me to believe in that because he chose the religion.
Did you choose to go to the pub tonight, Carl?
What's that got to do with it?
I'm just wondering. I'm just interested.
I watched football. I've had 2 beers, but that doesn't mean I'm stupid.
I didn't say you were stupid. I asked
He said you were drunk. You haven't been to the pub. People don't go to the pub. They drink at home now, don't you? You drink at home.
I must have been stupid because I was waiting for half hour to talk to you.
Oh, no, but look, call us again, Carl.
What, mate?
Call us again. You've still got a couple of minutes. Anything else you want to say just to end the show? We're going to end the show with you, Carl.
Well, we've got to love our country, our religion, our beliefs, and believe in God, country, and the soul of Jesus Christ.
You've got another minute and
I'll tell you
another minute to fill.
What's his thoughts on the local elections, really quickly?
Yeah, he's going to complain with his little fluffy haircut, isn't he?
What do you think, Carl, about reforming the local elections?
Love them a bit. Bet on them twice.
Did
never
you?
Lost. Yeah, never lost.
You bet on the local elections twice?
Nice one.
No, bet on reform twice.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And it
bet
came
on
in.
The local elections and the legal.
Did you
elections.
get what odds did you get on it?
What I got was rogered by the Labour Party.
You were rogered by the Labour Party.
Okay, Carl, new caller, thank you so much. We do hope you'll call again. What's your reflections on the local elections, Alistair? I haven't been through it.
Put your hat on, Alistair.
Right, hat on.
Right, should we all do
Put your hat on. Where's your hat, man?
So,